Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Become stronger by breathing. Obtaining the ability of Thanos by killing him. Chapter 81. A fierce battle. The dragon meat energy was completely digested. Carol is like a little girl, extremely shy. We have only been apart for a few days, how come you have changed so much? Sauron's divine body was born from the old body, and it was perfect in all aspects. It was the ultimate. Sauron told Carol about his experiences during this period. After Carol heard this, everyone was dumbfounded. You mean, you are now the sun god of Asgard? You have also defeated all the gods in the almighty city. You just killed the eastern god Jade Emperor and the golden dragon. You even roasted and ate the golden dragon god. Carol never expected that her little man could be so powerful. No wonder, a few days ago, she was evenly matched with him. But this time, she was completely defeated. Her experience is legendary enough. But compared with Sauron, her own experience is nothing more than the Shilpo sword god. Sauron, you are truly my man. You are simply too strong. Carol said with a double entendre. Sauron smiled faintly and felt a little worried in his heart. Could it be that from now on, he can only find women with strong bodies? Shaking his head, he threw this thought away. There were so many ways to strengthen the body in the universe, so I couldn't stop myself from thinking about it. I just had to look for more. After the two talked sweetly, Carol asked, "Are you going back to continue your mission? Or what?" Carol is a very enterprising woman. She likes to punish the strong and help the weak everywhere in the universe. Sauron thought for a while, and there would be nothing wrong if he went back to Blue Star now. It is better to wander around the universe, look at the scenery everywhere, and experience the different customs of cosmic civilizations. I promised Odin that I would fulfill my promise. Sauron said. Carol nodded. She understood Sauron's ability. No matter who the two of them were in need, it only took a few minutes to find each other. When you interrupted me, I didn't even finish what I was dealing with. Carol complained a little, and just as the two started to separate, Carol grabbed Sauron's collar and warned. I'm warning you, you are not allowed to go to Contraxia. If you dare to go, although I can't beat you, I can kill all the women who come close to you. Sauron was stunned for a moment, and his super brain immediately recalled what kind of place Contraxia was. It's a paradise for raiders. The raiders are wanted criminals in many universe empires. They can't live on the boat forever, they need good wine, food and women. Contraxia Star is such a place, because of the harsh environment, it is cold all year round. Without civilization thriving there, it would become a back garden for predators and a red light district. Countless mechanical chickens and bionic chickens are there to receive the looters. Real people or high-end goods there, and only the bosses among the plunderers have the money to spend. Haha, how could I go to a place like that? How could Sauron go? Carol then left with peace of mind, and Sauron also returned to the interception point. Sure enough, the sail armor and building ship were still in place. The sailing warship was waiting for Sauron, and there were some heavenly soldiers on the ship, but they did not dare to leave without permission because the Jade Emperor died in one encounter. Sauron returned, the sail warship left, and the building ship set sail again. The Jade Emperor has been killed. What should we do? Fortunately, he didn't attack us. After he goes back, I will never come out again. Go back and report it to the great gods, and hope they won't punish us for this. It's so powerful. This sun god of Asgard is so incredible. It would be great if he became our new Jade Emperor. After the building and the boat were gone, Daluotian still didn't know what kind of situation he would despise. Nova Empire, one of the powerful powers in the universe. Almost half of the galaxy is within the sphere of influence of Nova Empire. The other half belongs to the Thousand Miles Empire. There have been constant frictions between the two empires all year round. There have been no large-scale wars, but there have been many small fights. Recently, the top leaders of the two empires are preparing to sign a peace agreement. But this seriously affected the interests of the expansionist in the Kree Empire. Commander Ronan is the core member of the expansionist faction of the Kree Empire. He owns a super fleet of the Kree Empire. He once invaded Blue Star and was scared away after Captain Marvel destroyed several battleships. But it was also because of that experience that he deeply felt the necessity of having strong ability. So in the plot of Guardians of Galaxy 1, after he obtained the Power Stone, he broke the agreement with Thanos and instead took the Power Stone as his own. But in the end, he still failed miserably in the dance battle with Star-Lord. Choosing the Nova Empire, Sauron wanted to promote the plot of Guardians of Galaxy 1. Let Star-Lord quickly get the Power Stone, and then Sauron will take him to attend the carnival party of the gods. The Celestial clan stopped eating their brains and felt a little uncomfortable, but their ability still had to be taken away. The news about Sauron in the Almighty City has reached the ears of the leader of the Nova Empire, the Nova Supreme. For the visit of this extremely powerful god, the Nova Empire set out to receive it with the highest standards. While Sauron was conducting a formal diplomatic ceremony, a duplication quietly came to the shop of a character who appeared in the original work. Broker, a cosmic second-level dealer who specializes in posting rewards for certain rare items for others. Dear guest, how can I serve you? When I saw duplication, I was greeted with a smile on my face. With this magnanimity alone, he was sure that Sauron must be a nobleman of some cosmic civilization, or even a member of the royal family. I'm looking for something, the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Sauron duplication, said. 1 million credits. Hearing Sauron say 1 million credits, the broker's eyes suddenly brightened up. Yondu's reward for Star-Lord was only 40,000, which made Rocket very surprised and excited. Sure enough, in the square on Xinxing, CCCC, the arrest was launched. Credit points are the common currency among civilizations in the universe. 100,000 can buy a good high-level small spaceship, and 1 million can buy a large spaceship. 1 million is enough to make the predators and space mercenaries go crazy. Dear distinguished guest, please make a deposit of 100,000 credits, and I will definitely let all the mercenaries, treasure hunters, and plunderers in the universe know about it. Sauron nodded with satisfaction. He was looking for him because he had this ability. He left 100,000 credits and the code of his cosmic communicator, and Sauron left. After the broker respectfully bid farewell to Sauron, he directly closed the door, then entered the cosmic dark web and posted a reward of 1 million credits for the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Top-notch quantum communication technology made the entire galaxy aware of the bounty at the same time. Aboard Yondu's Marauder ship, 1 million credits. Ha ha ha, this Cosmic Spirit Ball must be found. On Yondu's head was still the coxcomb prototype. He shouted at his men. You losers, work hard for me. Activate your relationship and find me the whereabouts of the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Whoever can find the information about the Cosmic Spirit Ball, I will give him 100,000 credits. Yondu's words instantly excited the hundreds of looters on the ship. At the moment, Star-Lord, who was only in his 20s, was filled with suppressed excitement. When he was a child, Yondu took him away from the Blue Star. Instead of sending him to Egg, Yondu took him with him and raised him personally. Every time he robs other spaceships, Yondu will throw some books or something to Star-Lord, so that he can learn through these books. And Star-Lord just remembered that he seemed to have seen the words, Cosmic Spirit Ball, in one of the ancient fairy tale books. Returning to his cabin, he locked the door and quickly pulled out the book. The Cosmic Spirit Ball was once the most precious treasure of the Morag people. As the Morag planet was abandoned and the Morag people fled their home planet, the Cosmic Spirit Ball disappeared. Star-Lord's eyes were extremely bright. If I can find this Cosmic Spirit Ball, 1 million credits will be enough for me to live happily for a long time. Star-Lord has long been tempted to leave Yondu, but he never had the chance. Star-Lord completely destroyed the book recording the Cosmic Spirit Ball, and then quietly entered a small spaceship while everyone was asleep. This spaceship is one of the recently plundered items and has not yet been assigned to anyone. After opening the cabin and starting the engine, the small spacecraft broke away from Yondu's large spacecraft and was discovered by the person on duty. Shet, Yondu, that human kid got away in the newly plundered ship. In an instant, the entire Marauder spacecraft was in chaos. Somewhere out there in the universe, Thanos sits high on his levitating chair. 2 daughters, Gamora and Nebula, stood before him. Father, I just received news from the dark web that someone has posted $1 million reward for the Cosmic Spirit Ball we are looking for. Thanos didn't care at all. He instead expected someone to find it so that he could take it away from the other person's hands. Ronan of the Kree Empire was recently dissatisfied with the high-level leaders of the Kree Empire who wanted to sign an armistice agreement. He came to me and hoped to get my support. My daughter, you go find Ronan. If he can bring me the cosmic spirit ball, I will lend him my army. Gamora and Nebula looked at each other, and both saw the dissatisfaction and competitiveness in the other's eyes. Father, I will definitely complete your mission. Nebula said immediately. Gamora also said, I will definitely bring the cosmic spirit ball back. Thanos smiled. I know, you won't let me down. Countless plunderers on the Contraxia planet began to have a party because of this bounty. In the land of nothingness, Collector D-Fan looked at the countless treasures he had collected. But he was very dissatisfied. Although these treasures are rare, many of them are unique in the universe. But what he really wants to collect is the treasure of the universe, infinite gems. Cosmic Spirit Ball, Power Stone. Who is fighting for me? Come here, contact me with the broker. I want to increase the reward price to 10 million. At the moment, Rocket has just come together with Groot and became a bounty hunter partner. Groot, we are going to make a fortune. Someone actually offered a reward of 10 million to find something called the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Rocket jumped up excitedly, while Groot looked at Rocket curiously from outside. Groot, let's go find it. Rocket shook his head and said. Then what the hell is the Cosmic Spirit Ball? We don't know at all. The person who issued the reward is the broker. Let's go to the Nova Empire. If someone finds it, he must take the thing to Xandar. Groot nodded. The two of them drove a small flight machine and started jumping towards the new star. On Nova, one of the most luxurious hotels was chartered by the new Supreme to receive Sauron. Even though it is a cosmic power with an extremely advanced civilization, it still adheres to ancient traditions in terms of reception. Dozens of girls from different civilizations, let Sauron choose. It's a pity that these people are only mortal bodies and cannot bear his divine body. Standing on the balcony, feeling the rays of the three suns. His divine body can withstand the increase of 3 fixed stars at the same time. This is simply his blessed place. On the blue star, because of Sauron's departure, many people began to make moves. The temptation of the blue giant weapon is like the temptation of food to a person who has been hungry all day. Sauron's duplication is still the same as before. He has not changed because of Sauron's changes. He even secretly pushed for many countries and forces to know about the blue star weapon. Huge power is gathering in the dark. For several days, Sauron was on Xandar, enjoying everything here. The technological level surpasses Blue Star for several centuries, making entertainment projects extremely rich. Thor and Loki also gradually became obsessed with this place. Sauron waited for the plot to unfold. Although for him, getting the cosmic spirit ball is simply the simplest thing. But what's the point of that? Follow the plot, witness the story, and wait until the end to get the power gem in your hands. After becoming a god, you no longer have to worry about strength and lifespan, and it's time to start enjoying everything thoroughly. Star-Lord, who left Yondu, exchanged all the things he accumulated into credits, and then bought a map of some important buildings on Morag planet from a personal Morag before it was abandoned. The environment of Morag has become extremely harsh, and the erosion of the environment has been so severe that almost no trace of man-made buildings can be seen. Without this map, even knowing that the cosmic spirit ball is on Morag planet is of little use. The whole planet is so big, and how thick it is every day. Dreaming. Gamora and Nebula also came to Ronan's battleship. Ronan, who originally had dozens of warships, now only uses one. The signing of the peace agreement by the Kree Empire represented the decline of the power of the expansionist at the top. The peace faction took over Ronan's fleet, and this ship is Ronan's flagship, so the vehicle is still under Ronan's control. Launching an attack on the Nova Empire with only one battleship. Ronan is not that arrogant. He contacted Thanos just to use his army to start an all-out war between the Kree Empire and the Nova Empire. A general's power is always the greatest during war. Ronan wants to gain supreme power only by starting a huge war. Cosmic Spirit Ball. Is it true that as long as I find the Cosmic Spirit Ball, Thanos will fully support me? Ronan looked at the two adopted daughters of Thanos in front of him, but in his heart was a desire for advanced abilities. General super abilities are not unusual for the Kree Empire. The Inhumans on Blue Star are the product of the Kree Empire's gene integrate experiment. However, the Kree Empire does not have a super ability person as powerful as Captain Marvel. Sometimes, a warrior with super strength can be a far more powerful external deterrent than a super fleet. In Ronan's heart, Thanos was already strong enough. But he was so eager for the cosmic spirit ball, and he sensed an opportunity. An opportunity to possess higher power yourself. After getting Gamora's affirmative answer, Ronan became excited. I will definitely find the cosmic spirit ball. Go, connect your consciousness to the supreme wisdom, and see if you can find any clues about the cosmic spirit ball. Ronan began to give instructions. The supreme intelligence is the supercomputer life created by the Kree Empire. It embodies the highest wisdom of the Kree people, including all military, technology, thought, philosophy, etc. It rules the Kree Empire. Every Kree is connected to the Supreme Intelligence Consciousness, which is very sacred and private to the Kree. Even after the death of many Kree people, their consciousness will be uploaded to the Supreme Intelligence and eventually become a part of the Supreme Intelligence. In the hearts of the Kree people, there is nothing that the Supreme Wisdom does not know. Soon, his close subordinates completed the conscious connection with the Supreme Wisdom. Commander, the Supreme Wisdom told me everything about the Cosmic Spirit Ball. But he glanced at Gamora and Nebula, and Ronan understood that there were some things they couldn't let them know. Gamora, Nebula, the Supreme Wisdom is very sacred and private in the hearts of our Kree people. Please go and rest first, and I will tell you the result. Ronan is not the idiot in those TV dramas who lets his cronies tell top secret things in public in order to show his trust. Gamora and Nebula looked at each other and they could only leave. Because even if they were forced to stay, it would be useless. If their subordinates didn't talk to them, there would be nothing they could do. But as long as you can find the cosmic spirit ball, everything else is not important. Commander, the Supreme Wisdom tells me that the origin of the cosmic spirit ball is not important, but what is stored in it. That's a gem, the power gem. One of the most special and precious 6 infinite gems in the universe. Each gem has some kind of infinite power. Owning one is enough to kill gods. Ronan's eyes burst out with light. His heart was extremely excited. This was the strength he was looking for. Commander, the Supreme Wisdom says that as long as you find any infinite gems, you can become the Supreme Commander of the Kree Empire. And the last news about the Cosmic Spirit Ball is that it was personally enshrined by Mora as a sacred object. After his subordinate finished speaking, Ronan also strengthened his heart. The Cosmic Spirit Ball must be found. He will never give it to Thanos if he owns it. As long as he becomes the Supreme Commander of the Kree Empire, Thanos will die. Koraz, you quietly take a group of people to Morag to search for it. This matter cannot be known to Thanos' people, do you understand? Ronan stared at the henchman in front of him and said, yes. Koraz saluted seriously. Korath was once a member of the Kree Empire's Star Team and fought alongside Captain Marvel. Later, the Star Team was disbanded and he joined Ronan's fleet. The black man who appeared when Star-Lord found the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Koraz soon took a group of people and took a small spaceship from the Kree Empire to Morag. On Ronan's battleship, Gamora looked at the departing small spaceship. Nebula said, Ronan must have got the news about the Cosmic Spirit Ball. He hid it from us. Gamora didn't speak, but she already had the desire to escape in her heart. She wants to get the Cosmic Spirit Ball, and then sell it to Collector Defan, so that she can completely stay away from Thanos with a huge fortune. I'm going to talk to Ronan. Gamora turned around, and Nebula frowned and followed directly. She couldn't lose to her sister. Ronan had already thought about it. He hid the part about Morag and told everything else. Morag, on the abandoned planet. When Star-Lord landed, he studied the map of Morag's important buildings and believed that only the past Morag holy place was the most likely place to store the Cosmic Spirit Ball. He landed on the planet Morag, and just like in the original work, he sang songs intoxicatedly and approached step by step the holy place where the Cosmic Spirit Ball was stored. Koraz also arrived at Morag, but he didn't know where the Cosmic Spirit Ball would be placed, but they discovered Star-Lord's spaceship. They followed Star-Lord. Star-Lord successfully found the holy place and used the looters' things to open the door to the holy place that had been dusty for a long time. There is still energy in the abandoned planet, holy place, protecting a metal sphere within the energy field. Star-Lord was overjoyed. When he saw it was a ball, it must be the cosmic spirit ball. Quickly use the magnetic field generator to suck the cosmic spirit ball out of the energy field. But as soon as he got it, Kolas blocked the door. After a battle, Star-Lord finally left in the spaceship, and then jumped in space to Xandar, where the broker collected the bounty. On Ronan's battleship, Gamora eavesdropped on the battleship's communications. From Korra's report, he knew that it was Star-Lord who had obtained the cosmic spirit ball. She didn't know about Star-Lord, but she knew that Star-Lord would definitely return to Xandar if he got the cosmic spirit ball. And now Ronan would never dare to go to Xandar Star. Soren's super hearing covers the entire Shanvar planet. He was sitting on the balcony of the hotel room, but he could see everything happening in the square 100 kilometers away. Rocket and Treeman Groot have been guarding here for a long time. Just now, Gamora and Star-Lord also came to Xandar respectively. Because Star-Lord told the broker Ronan's name, the broker was so frightened that he stopped taking the order and kicked Star-Lord out. Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket, and Groot, the four of them hit everything. Sauron watched with relish, and soon, they were captured by the Nova Corps. They will be tried and then imprisoned in Clint prison, located in the small planet zone. Different from the original work, the cosmic spirit ball was sent to Sauron by Xingxing Supreme. Dear His Highness Sauron, the Sun God, we Supreme believe that only a powerful god like you can protect such an ancient divine relic. Xingxing Supreme did not know that the power gems were stored in the cosmic spirit ball. He just saw someone offering a bounty of tens of millions of credit points, so he borrowed flowers and offered them to Buddha to please Sauron. Sauron also felt a little conflicted while playing with the cosmic spirit ball in his hand. Should I open it and get the power gem inside? Or send it back to Star-Lord and continue the plot? Playing with the cosmic spirit ball in his hand, the energy of the power gem is firmly sealed in the cosmic spirit ball, and the gems in it cannot be sensed at all. The material that makes up the cosmic spirit ball is also extremely special. The material of Nebula's robotic arm is top-notch in the universe, but if you reach into the energy field to pick up the cosmic spirit ball, part of it will be burned and melted, but you don't know how many cosmic spirit balls are placed in it. Years ago, nothing changed at all. But if Sauron wants to open it, it will be easy. Should we just get the power stone? Or should we send the stone back to Star-Lord and let the plot continue? In just an instant, Sauron had already thought of a decision. Unless Thanos comes in person, Sauron is 100% sure that the Power Stone will not fall into the hands of others. In that case, let's have some fun. But instead of sending the gems back to Star-Lord, he personally participated in the plot. Pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, he infiltrated the Guardians of Galaxy as a superpower. At the critical moment, take out your own big Japanese melon and scare them. Clint Prison, as the highest level prison in the Nova Empire, has hundreds of thousands of ordinary people among it, and it is estimated that it can bring in more than 1 million gold coins in revenue. There are also Ronan's battleships, the Dark Star, and the elite of the Kree, many of whom have various super abilities. It doesn't make sense, the Inhumans who integrate Kree genes with human genes have super abilities, but the Kree don't have. A top-notch Kree Empire warship should have several thousand elite warriors on board, right? It can also bring in at least 3 to 4 million gold coins. Soren's goal is to collect 20 million gold coins and do a mythical double draw. A duplication separated from Soren's body. This body possesses 30% of Soren's strength. Leaving him here, Sauron went to Clint Prison in person. It's very easy to sneak into the prison. Although this prison is filled with some kind of force field, which can tighten the super ability of the superpower. But Sauron is too powerful, and these devices that fasten super ability cannot fasten his ability at all. From this, Sauron became more and more certain that most of the criminals here must have various super abilities. Otherwise, why would those old, weak, sick and disabled criminals in the movie be locked up in the highest defense prison in the Nova Empire? As soon as Sauron appeared, he attracted the attention of many criminals. Sauron is too young and handsome, which makes many criminals with perverted hearts focus on Sauron. A tall, red-skinned criminal walked towards Sauron. "Boy, just follow me and I guarantee that no one will dare to touch you here." As he spoke, he extended his hand to Sauron. Soren's eyes were full of disgust, Such scum should not exist at all. Sauron directly raised his foot and kicked him in the crotch. Although Sauron has restrained his strength very much, his strength is too great. His weak strength is a terrifying power to other creatures. Sauron's kick, which should have been blocked by flesh and blood, went straight to the top, and his foot came out of the red-skinned criminal's head. In the prison, every criminal looked stunned. Snapped. The red-skinned criminal was completely split in half from the middle. His body went limp and fell to both sides. Red blood mixed with sticky stuff flowed all over the floor. Sauron was also a little surprised and frowned. Although there was nothing on his feet, he still shook them out of habit. Oh my God, what kind of monster is here? The Red Devil Douglas actually died like this. It's unbelievable, but Dogla once tore apart a Magadon, an alien horse that can carry a ton of weight and run at 200 hours per hour with his bare hands. Hiss. Now, this prison is interesting. The criminals were all whispering, but no one of the prison guards stood up. First of all, the criminals here are very heinous and basically cannot get out after entering here. They don't care about the life or death of these criminals. Secondly, one kick can split the Red Devil Dogra, who ranks among the strongest in this prison, into two halves. With such strength, they may not be able to defeat him even if they wear the exoskeleton armor of the Nova Empire. How could you stand up for a criminal? Among the crowd, Star-Lord and his group, who had just been imprisoned, also looked at Sauron in shock. This guy's strength is simply terrifying. If we can capture him when we escape from prison, we will definitely increase our success rate. Rocket said excitedly. Then who's going to ask? How about letting Groot go? He's a tree man who can grow back together even if he's split apart. Star-Lord looked at Sauron with fear in his eyes. Groot glared at Star-Lord. I am Groot. Rocket turned his eyes and looked at Gamora. Gamora, you are a girl. Star-Lord's eyes widened when he saw you. Maybe he will agree if you go there. Gamora looked at Sauron. She was also thinking about it. As the daughter of Thanos, she has done countless evil things with him over the years. More than half of the prisoners in this prison want to kill her for revenge. And this newcomer, like them, has such great strength. With him, he should be able to suppress those who want to kill him. Thinking of this, Gamora pushed away the rocket and walked towards Sauron. At the moment Sauron reached a table, the people who were originally sitting here were naturally frightened and stayed away. Gamora came over and sat in front of Sauron. Hello, my name is Gamora, I have a jailbreak plan and I want to invite you to join. Gamora said straight to the point. Sauron looked at Gamora and saw that she had green skin and a hot figure, but Sauron was not interested. When he thought that after wiping off the green, it would turn out to be black, he felt a little sick. However, Sauron is still very interested in Gamora's sister Nebula. He has never seen a woman whose body and limbs have been modified by prosthetics. Do you think that with my strength, this shabby prison scheme can trap me? Sauron said calmly. Gamora was stunned. She didn't expect Sauron's answer, but when she thought about it carefully, the power Sauron showed just now was so terrifying. She definitely had the ability to leave this prison by herself. But Gamora quickly thought of something, and she said, 400 million credits. We have a treasure in our hands. I know a buyer who can offer 400 million credits. Sauron really doesn't know the location of the Land of Nothingness. The Land of Nothingness is not within the scope of any fixed star system, and his divine power can't help it. Is that what you're talking about? Sauron took out the cosmic spirit ball and played with it casually in his hand. Gamora's eyes widened instantly. Shet, why do you have this thing in your hands? Star-Lord was also stunned as he kept looking at the rocket here. Why is the cosmic spirit ball in his hand? How can I get it back now? With such great strength, could it be that he was caught on purpose just to get the cosmic spirit ball? Soren's words confirmed Rocket's guess. If it weren't for this, do you think I could be caught by these useless snacks from the Nova Corps? Sauron looked at Gamora and said, take me to the Land of Nothingness obediently, and I can consider giving you some credit points. Gamora wanted to refuse, but she knew that if she refused, the person in front of her would definitely kill her. I have some friends, I want to take them with me. Gamora said, she now feels that with Star-Lord and Rocket, her safety will be higher. You proceed according to your jailbreak plan and don't worry about me. I will naturally follow you when you succeed. When it was time to go to bed at night, Sauron had a room to himself, while everyone else was crowded together. Sauron later ignored Gamora, giving those who wanted to kill Gamora hope again. Just like in the original work, they wanted to kill Gamora, and Drax the Destroyer was convinced by Star-Lord to join the prison escape team. The next day, while having breakfast, Rocket talked about his jailbreak plan in detail. Star-Lord was tricked into getting a prosthetic leg, while Groot, a simple man, removed the battery from the sentry tower. The alarm sounded and the jailbreak plan was forced to proceed in advance. Sauron just sat there, watching everything happen quietly. Seeing that he did not participate in the escape, the prison guards breathed a sigh of relief and ignored him. Star-Lord and others, according to the plot, successfully turned the control room on the sentry tower into a flight device and escaped from the cage. Rocket and others entered Star-Lord's flight device, and Star-Lord went to get it. Return to your own Walkman. At this time, Sauron also started taking action. Although the artificial gravity here is turned off, Sauron still stands firmly on the ground, his white heat vision evaporating everything he can see in front of him. One by one, criminals were cleared of their crimes under this heat vision. On the Phoenix flight, Rocket, Gamora, Groot, and Drax looked through the glass at the Clint prison in front of them. A stream of terrifying white light penetrated the thick metal wall, and the huge meteorites floating around were melted and destroyed by the white light. Star-Lord had already gotten the Walkman and flew back to the spacecraft. When he saw all this, he was stunned. "Shit, what's going on? Did we do this?" Star-Lord murmured, but Rocket said with contempt. "Wake up, how could we possibly do such a thing? The person who stole our cosmic spirit ball must have done it." With the sound of the rocket falling, the huge Clint prison in front of us exploded. Shockwaves swept across, and a large number of meteorites around were destroyed. Upon seeing this, Star-Lord quickly drove the spacecraft and hid behind a huge amount of meteorite, thus avoiding the fate of being destroyed by shockwave. When the small planet area returned to peace, everyone just wanted to fly the spacecraft to see the situation, but they saw something evil coming from directly in front of the spacecraft. They looked and saw a glowing figure floating in front of the spacecraft. "Shit, who the hell is this? He can survive in a vacuum. I'm Groot, he must be a very, very powerful man." The next moment, Sauron appeared directly in the cabin. "Take me to the void." Soren's tone was calm, and Gamora quickly got into the driver's seat and drove the spacecraft towards the void. Sauron closed his eyes and checked his system space. Look at how much was gained from those prisoners after destroying Clint prison this time. Various abilities and abilities, a total of 3,485. Because they were killed, they all dropped all abilities and abilities. None of these were considered valuable by Sauron. System, recycle them all. Ding. Congratulations to the host for winning 1.85 million gold coins. The current total gold coins are 17.24 million. The land of nothingness is very far away from Clint prison. This spans almost half of the Milky Way. But if there is a space jump, it is just 1,000 jumps. If it weren't for the fact that there was no fixed star near the land of nothingness, Sauron wouldn't have needed them at all. Collector Diffin, the master of the void. Although his strength shown in the movie is very average, he only suffered a few skin injuries in the power explosion of the Power Stone. Others hid or fled to avoid being hurt. At the end of Thor 2, Asgard gave the reality gem to Diffin for safekeeping, believing that he had the strength to protect the gem. As the Elder of the Universe, his strength is not as low as shown in the movie. Even though he could jump through space, it still took him 2 full days to reach the land of nothingness. A head as huge as a small planet, floating in the void of the universe. The surrounding area was empty, with no stars within several light years. However, Sauron sensed the fixed stars around him and quickly determined the one closest to here. It will be very convenient for him to come here in the future. It was the first time for Rocket Star-Lord to come to the land of nothingness. They were shocked to see such a huge head. "Shit, what is this? A huge amount of head." Rocket's little eyes widened. Gamora said from the side, "This was once the head of an ancient god." The members of the Celestial Group have different strengths, and their strength can be judged by their body shape. In the scene where Fan unlocked the Cosmic Spirit Ball, the member of the Celestial Group who used the Power Gem to destroy the planet was only a few hundred meters tall. His strength is about the same as Thanos, so to destroy planets, you need to borrow the power of the Power Stone. Let's look at Alatham in Eternals. When he appeared near Blue Star, he was stunned when he looked at Blue Star. The god Tiamu who was born in the Blue Star is only a little smaller than the Blue Star, but bigger than 3 or 4 months of the moon. The Celestials all wear armor with 6-faced faces, but they don't really look like that. Looking at the head of the celestial god group in front of him, Sauron could almost estimate the size of his body. It should be smaller than Diamu, but it is many times bigger than the one that borrowed the power gem. His size, Sauron estimated, should be as big as a moon. His strength is considered to be at the middle to lower level among the gods, no wonder his head was cut off. Guess whether the Diffin group will find any extremely precious treasures when mining the gods' substances here. Sauron suddenly spoke, feeling very good in his heart. The majestic group of cosmic gods, will there be any treasure conceived in the head? Could it be that Egg's brain came out of this god's head? Sauron had thoughts of robbing Collector Diffin. He really wanted to know what kind of treasure Collector Diffin had. The spaceship flew into the land of nothingness, and then, under the leadership of Gamora, headed to the tallest building in the center of the land of nothingness. That is Diffin's museum, which displays the treasures he has collected over countless years. Donald Duck, Space Dog, Dark Elf. We have the most complete and largest collections in the entire galaxy. There are all kinds of animals, minerals, and species. Diffin's maid introduced them to them. Sauron looked around the entire museum. Countless array cabinets contained various species that he had never seen before. I would like to introduce you to Collector Diffin. Diffin, who had his back to everyone, turned around. He looked at the crowd, but his eyes were immediately attracted to Sauron who was walking at the front. I feel powerful and ancient from your body. Please allow me to pay you now and collect your body. Definitely after you die. What he originally said to Groot, the tree man, was now said to Sauron. Sauron smiled and said, Diffin, my asking price is very high, I'm afraid you can't afford it. Diffin is extremely confident. As the patriarch of the universe, he has lived for millions of years. His company, Diffin Group, controls everything in the land of nothingness. Relying on the gods' material here, he cannot be said to be the most powerful person in the universe. Rich people, but also among the top 5 richest people. Make a price. Diffin looked like he didn't regard money as money at all. Sauron looked around. Under supervision, he could see every collection clearly. He didn't recognize more than 99% of them. But among the less than 1% of the collection that he recognized, there were 2 things that surprised him. Alien eggs containing facehuggers, and a living predator trapped in a display case. Marvel acquired the Alien copyright in 2020, which is not considered intrusion. Sauron felt a little surprised. He had sensed the fixed stars in the entire galaxy and confirmed that there were no iron-blooded planets in the galaxy. This is either from the outer universe or from a galaxy outside the Milky Way. It's so huge. The Milky Way, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Magellanic Clouds and more than 50 galaxies make up the local galaxy group. The local group of galaxies belongs to the Virgo supercluster. But the Virgo supercluster is also part of the Great Wall Giant Galaxy Cluster. The huge Milky Way is as small in the Great Wall Giant Galaxy Cluster as the Blue Star is in the Milky Way. Soren's midterm goal is to become the fixed star god of the entire Great Wall super system. The long-term goal is to become the fixed star god of the entire universe. The ultimate goal is to exceed limits. Beyond the limits of the universe. Beyond one's own limits. Become a transcendent existence independent of the universe. Diffin, what I want is all your collections. Sauron said directly. Diffin was stunned at first, thinking that Sauron was joking with him. Are you kidding me? These collections were slowly amassed over millions of years. Most of them have become orphans in the universe in today's era. Value cannot be measured in money. Sauron smiled. Diffin, am I really not kidding you? Now I declare that I am robbing. The men stand on the left, the girls stand on the right. Soren's face was filled with a bright smile, and he looked at Diffin like a piece of fat. Rocket, Star-Lord, and Gamora were all stunned. Just like in the original work, Drax did not come in, but deliberately tipped off Ronan. Are you kidding me? Star-Lord couldn't help but said. Aren't we here to sell him the cosmic spirit ball? 400 million credits. You can even buy a habitable planet. Even though countless civilizations are blooming in the universe, there are still very few planets with suitable environments. Everyone is extremely precious. Gamora also said. The cosmic spirit ball is a waste in our hands. Only by selling it to DFAN can we get 400 million credit points. We can't get 400 million credit points by robbing it. Credit points are the universal electronic currency and can also be fixedly stored in some metal cards similar to bank cards. These metal credit cards have fixed limits and are used for transactions at different levels. But for general consumption, you still use your own personal terminal for electronic payment. DFAN frowned. He was a little unsure of Sauron's strength. If you like something from my collection, I can give it to you. Let's trade the cosmic spirit ball, otherwise you won't get 400 million credits even if you kill me. After listening to DFAN's words, Sauron looked at him as if he were an idiot. DFAN, they don't know what's in the cosmic spirit ball, don't you know? The Power Stone, one of the infinite gems, is such a cosmic treasure, and you want to get it with only 400 million credits. That is the supreme treasure that even the gods can be moved by. Whoever owns the power gem is equivalent to possessing unlimited power that can destroy the world. The expression on DFAN's face froze. He did not expect that Sauron actually knew about infinite gems. Infinite gems, in today's universe, have long become legends in legends. Only those who are ancient or powerful or have a long heritage can know the existence of infinite gems. How did you know? DFAN looked like he had seen a ghost. Sauron didn't answer, and the blazing white heat vision in his eyes completely evaporated a piece of precious ore. My mithril. DFAN was so heartbroken that he could hardly breathe. Mithril is an extremely precious magic metal and is the material for casting top-level artifacts. But he also realized that Sauron does have terrifying strength. It is too difficult to evaporate a special metal like mithril. How dare you destroy my collection? DFAN is really angry. He is really not easily bullied. Otherwise, why would he be sitting in the land of nothingness? Every piece of God's material can be sold at a high price on the black market. After all these years, the land of nothingness still belongs to him. With the DFAN rage, the entire museum becomes different. One by one, fully armed robots came out of the depths of the museum. They are all humanoid, all silver white, and equipped with many powerful weapons. This is a combat robot I bought from a super empire in another galaxy. If you dare to rob me, go to hell. Following DFAN's order, these robots opened fire on Sauron. A series of powerful energy beams came towards Sauron in an instant. When it hit Sauron, he actually felt a trace of pain. His divine body is now a black iron Superman level. It can even withstand the risk of underwriting. But I didn't expect that the firepower of these robots would be so powerful. However, it only made Sauron feel a little bit of pain. That's all. Fake. How can your body be so powerful? This is a particle-splitting beam. Even the bones of the universe God group can be decomposed by this beam. DFAN felt as if he had seen a ghost. Sauron's figure disappeared instantly, and then appeared next to these robots. Sauron discovered that they also have super reflexes and super speed. They can keep up with Sauron's speed. They are also very powerful and can easily lift thousands of tons of weight. The material that makes up their bodies is also a super alloy. Not weak to vibranium. But they faced Sauron. A super robot was torn apart by Sauron with his bare hands. No, DFAN screamed in despair. There are 9 of DFAN's super robots in total. All come from the giant elliptical galaxy M87 in the Virgo supercluster. This galaxy is far larger than the Milky Way, and is completely controlled by a super empire called the Holy Light Empire. During his millions of years of life, he once left the Milky Way and walked in other galaxies. These super robots met a nobleman who loved collecting when they were in the Holy Light Empire. The two of them exchanged collected treasures, which were gifts from the nobleman of the Holy Light Empire. These 9 super robots are one of the things he relies on to firmly occupy the land of nothingness. But I didn't expect that at this moment, in Sauron's hands, he would be so vulnerable. A body that can withstand the bombardment of phase cannons on large battleships cannot be easily torn apart by Sauron. Seeing each super robot being shattered into pieces, Defan's heart was so painful that it was hard to breathe. Stop fighting. I surrender. Defan quickly shouted that although he still had some knowledge and methods, he no longer dared to deal with Sauron. I'm afraid that other secrets will also be destroyed by Sauron. Sauron completely tore the 9th robot into pieces, leaving nothing for Defan. Defan, if I rob you now, will you still resist? Sauron asked again. Defan lowered his proud head, shook his head and said, I'm convinced. You can take away whatever you want from the collection I have here. Although this is millions of years of hard work, he has a long lifespan. As long as he continues to occupy the void, he can always fill it up again little by little. Sauron looked at these collections with greedy eyes. Many of the collections here are likely to be the only remaining individuals of this species in the universe. Many species do not have super abilities, but they do possess some kind of magical racial ability. This is Defan's wealth accumulated over millions of years. He has no interest in collecting ordinary species. Tens of thousands of species in the universe have become extinct or are on the verge of extinction. The abilities they can bring to Sauron are impressive. Many animals and species are in cryo-dormancy. What Defan wants is to be alive. Only those that have been collected recently and still have strong vitality will be in conscious activity. But Sauron wants more than that. There must be some kind of treasure hidden in this god's head. Defan, I know that your collection is more than this. Tell me, where did you hide this treasure in the head of the god? Sauron began to question Defan. Defan's face was full of doubts and he said, although I discovered the land of nothingness and began to develop it, I really haven't discovered any treasures. This is the head of a god. The greatest treasure is the biological material of the god. Regardless of whether what Defan said is true or not, Sauron will never believe it. You won't tell. It doesn't matter, I'll see for myself. Sauron used telepathy, and Defan felt a powerful spiritual power begin to invade his brain. There was a device on his clothes to prevent the invasion of psychic power, but it was destroyed by Sauron in the blink of an eye. The power of the spirit instantly entered Defan's brain and entered his consciousness. Defan has lived for millions of years, and his memory is too big. These memories are like a tsunami, rushing towards Sauron's brain along telepathy. Sauron has all the psychic abilities, and a psychic barrier stopped Defan from counterattacking. This counterattack is actually an information flow attack. Using huge and complex memories, it caused Sauron's consciousness to tremble and shock, triggering the brain's self-protection and causing his consciousness to fall into a coma. But Defan failed. His huge memory of hundreds of years was isolated by the power of Sauron's mind, and then he seemed to control a computer. By entering keywords to search, you can find the data you need from endless data. It was a memory from a million years ago. When a miner was mining the brain tissue of the god's head, he suddenly dug out a piece of bright light from the pituitary gland. The thing looked like a crystal pillar with two pointed ends. The miners originally wanted to sneak down, wait until they left here, and then sell them at a high price. The Defan group has long been monitoring the mining work of each miner and was immediately discovered. After Defan got it, he studied it for a long time and couldn't figure out what it was, but he also knew that it was definitely an extremely precious treasure. This is the only thing found in the head of the god that is not a biological tissue of the god. He silenced all the people who knew about it and treasured it. Sauron withdrew his spiritual power, looked at Defan, and said, I already know it, you'd better take it out yourself. Defan's face was full of despair, and the longer he lived, the more he feared death. He could only open his secret vault in the museum, and took out a crystal that exuded bright light from a safe made of pure vibranium. There is a vibranium planet in the universe. Vibranium is not unique to Wakanda. Although it is rare in the universe, some top forces can still get some. Sauron took it in his hand and sensed it carefully but didn't notice anything strange. Can the system be recycled? Ding. The core of the gods. When the cosmic gods group died, the huge soul and spiritual power condensed into the core. Place it in the core of the planet with intelligent life, and it will turn into the seeds of the gods, which will be nurtured millions of years later, can absorb the wisdom of intelligent life and resurrect it. If it is integrated, the host will activate all the memories and abilities of the god. If it is recycled, you can get 8 million gold coins. This is Sauron, the most expensive thing I have ever seen for recycling. 8 million gold coins. A difference of 2 million is enough for a mythical felling. Perhaps the core of a godlike Diamu may be more than 10 million gold coins. Sauron collected it and put it into the system space. He still had to think about whether to recycle or integrate it. Seeing the god's core disappearing into Sauron's hands, Defan was completely desperate. Next, it's time to cut the leaks. Sauron's eyes' heat vision suddenly exploded. Sweep the entire museum. No, what are you going to do? Defan instantly shouted in horror and anger. He thought that Sauron robbed him because he had taken a fancy to something here. For example, ores. There are many precious ores here, including Uru metal, adamantium, vibranium, mithril, Yaka metal, Yondu's whistle arrow, galaxy glaze, mercury melon. However, he really didn't expect that Sauron was not looking for anything but for destruction. His collection of millions of years, the life forms that have become the last species in the universe, have completely lost their lives in dormancy. Feeling nothing, turned into ashes. On the contrary, those who were still awake were not destroyed by Sauron. He knew most of these, and had seen such species from Thor, Guardians of Galaxy and other plots, and knew that they did not have any special ability, such as dark elves, Chitauri, etc. However, there are also unexpected accidents that happened to Sauron. A considerable part of Difan's collection consists of various precious ores. Under the scorching white heat vision, these ores melted. Then the molten metal liquid flowed and gathered together. These liquids integrate with each other. They are metals that are extremely rare in the universe and have extremely terrible properties. Their integration has produced a change that exceeds everyone's cognition. A metal ball that looked like bronze on the blue star appeared, but it exuded extremely magnificent 9-color light. Anyone who sees it will feel that it must be a very precious thing. Sauron was attracted immediately. He didn't even have time to check his harvest, but walked over and picked it up. It's very heavy to start with. He possesses extremely terrifying strength, and he can carry a huge island without any problem, but this basin's file-sized metal ball feels heavy in his hand. Even white dwarf fragments of the same size are not so heavy. It's heavier than the big stick of the gorilla god. This weight can be made into a weapon. Sauron weighed it and put it into the system space. A variety of magical metals integrate magical alloys, extremely heavy, with near-extreme physical and magical properties. Sauron couldn't help but look at Defan. Such a veteran of the universe is indeed the best candidate for cutting leaks. Just one Defan allowed him to harvest the core of the gods worth 8 million gold coins, the magical alloy that can be used to make weapons, and the harvest of naked light that he had not yet checked. However, to open the cosmic spirit ball, Defan's equipment is still needed. Open the cosmic spirit ball and I will leave. In addition to taking away the dog, I also left you with a lot of collections. A space dog with powerful psychokinesis, the first dog sent into space by a red bear during the Cold War. Due to an accident, he possessed Super Nian Nuo Wangjiao power and became Defan's collection. Later, he became a member of Guardians of Galaxy. Now Defan just wants to send Sauron away quickly. Okay, I'll untie it for you. Place the cosmic spirit ball on a special unlocking device. As the cosmic spirit ball rotates, it separates from the middle and is unlocked layer by layer. At the same time, the projection information released in the cosmic spirit ball also displays relevant information about the 6 infinite gems. It's so wonderful, simply unparalleled. Defan looked at the power gems in front of him intoxicated. He had collected countless treasures in his life, but this was the first time he saw infinite gems with his own eyes. He couldn't wait to grab the power gem in front of him and take it for himself. But he didn't dare. Only people with extremely powerful extraordinary power can control the power stone. There was once a group of powerful beings who wanted to integrate the power of gems through sharing, but they were reduced to ashes. Defan is one of the elders of the universe, but he doesn't dare to gamble. Defan's maid, Karina, looked at the power gem with hatred for Defan in her eyes. The power gem is so powerful. If you can get it, you will have the power to fight against Defan. Sauron looked at it calmly and did not stop him. The power stone won't be destroyed anyway. Karina took advantage of everyone being attracted to the power stone and took action instantly to grab the power stone. Karina is just an ordinary alien. Just by looking at his red skin, you can tell that her race is a huge ethnic group in the Nova Empire. In the original book, when Star-Lord went to get the cosmic spirit ball, there was such a red-skinned alien woman in the spaceship who spent the night with him. They are D-Fan's maids and slaves, not collections. D-Fan, I will never be your slave again. She pampered D-Fan and let out a roar of freedom. But her mortal body could not withstand the terrifying power of the power gem. Karina's body was emitting smoke due to the surge of energy from the power stone, and she screamed in pain. Shet, run, Star-Lord shouted, pulled Gamora and ran out. Groot also grabbed the rocket and ran outside. But Karina still couldn't bear the power of the power stone. The energy pouring into her body exploded instantly. Sauron allowed the energy of the explosion to submerge him, and his body was not harmed at all. Most of the collections he left for D-Fan were destroyed in this close-range explosion. Only a very few survived. D-Fan is also the veteran of the universe. Although he was hit by the energy of the explosion before he could escape in time, his body was fine, he just looked a little sloppy. Sauron stretched out his hand without hesitation and grasped the power gem that had just calmed down. Don't want. D-Fan, who just raised his head, shouted, but the explosion he thought did not happen again. Sauron held the power gem in his hand, and huge power poured into Soren's body, but it did not cause any harm to his body. His divine body is too powerful to withstand the energy infusion from the power stone. Feeling the powerful power emerging from his body, the power gem was also crazily improving Soren's divine body. Especially the power. With the blessing of the power stone, Sauron feels that his power can reach the bronze Superman level. However, he still put the power gem into the cosmic spirit ball. The energy belonging to the power gem in his body disappeared, but the divine body was a little stronger than before. In other words, if you hold the power gem for a long enough time, your body can be permanently strengthened by the power gem. This is true for one power gem, but what about having all 6 gems? For the first time, Sauron felt completely possessive of infinite gems. It seems that the magical alloy we just obtained can be used to create a treasure that carries infinite gems, similar to the Infinity Gauntlet. Putting the cosmic spirit ball into the system space, Sauron looked outside. Ronan is here. The Dark Star is parked outside the Land of Nothingness, and the two are about the same size as file size. On the Dark Star, phaser cannons, photon torpedoes, and dark matter cannons were aimed at the void. A small Kree Empire spaceship flew into the void, and Ronan and Nebula came out. One after another, small spaceships began to conduct indiscriminate attacks on the Land of Nothingness, causing riots throughout the Land of Nothingness. Drax saw Ronan and shouted excitedly, "Conductor Ronan." Ronan looked at Drax, who was holding a knife in his hands, and wondered, is that the informant? Behind Drax, Star-Lord Gamora was dumbfounded. Did you recruit Ronan? By then Drax was excited and had Ronan in his eyes. Gamora looked at the mining aircraft on the side. She just wanted to leave now. This period of busy work made her all in vain, but she had betrayed Thanos and could not go back. Star-Lord and Rocket also entered the mining flight machine. Nebula shouted at the Kree Empire warriors. Gamora has taken away the cosmic spirit orb, CCDA, chase after her. In the sky, a flight chase battle. You killed my wife. Killed my daughter. Ronan, I'm going to kill you. Drax roared at Ronan, but Ronan was full of confusion. Too many people had died under his hands. How could he know who Drax's wife and daughter were? He turned his back with disdain and wanted to leave to take back the sphere. Drax rushed forward. He was the elite of the Kree Empire and the enemy of Commander Ronan. He was quickly beaten down. Sauron came out and looked at the chaotic Land of Nothingness, but his eyes looked at the Dark Star. He still needs a domineering car. The Asgard sailing battleship, compared to the Dark Star in front of him, is too beautiful, and the Sun and Point are not in line with his status as a sun god. Nebula piloted the Kree Empire's Necron ship and scanned the rocket, Star-Lord and Gamora's mining ship, but the results of the scan stunned her. Ronan, the cosmic spirit ball is not on Gamora's body. Ronan grabbed Drax, who was knocked down by him, and shouted, "Tell me, whose hand is the cosmic spirit ball?" Drax saw Ronan anxious, but he became excited inside. "Ha ha ha, the cosmic spirit ball has been destroyed. You will never see it in this life." With an angry kick, Ronan threw Drax into the pool, which contained the god's substance, spinal fluid. I will completely block this place. Look for it. Diaby will also find the cosmic spirit ball for me. Looking at the roaring Ronan, Sauron took out the cosmic spirit ball and said with a smile. Is this what you're looking for? Ronan turned around suddenly and stared at the cosmic spirit ball in Sauron's hand. Who are you? Hand over the cosmic spirit ball and I will spare your life. The proud Ronan had no idea who he was talking to. Sauron's eyes were calm and he didn't care at all about Ronan's arrogant words. Want it? Come and get it. Sauron curled his fingers. Ronan rushed towards Sauron and used the top fighting technique of the Kree Empire. But no matter how good your skills are, if you buy absolute power and absolute speed, it will be ruined. Sauron punched Ronan in the chest. Time passed quickly. Ronan's body jumped into the air and retreated, and his chest was gradually sunken by Sauron's hand. Time returned to normal, and Ronan flew backwards for hundreds of meters in an instant, and his body hit the undead spaceship he was walking down from. The entire necromancer spaceship was destroyed by him. Am I not using too much force? Sauron looked at his fist. It was not that he was too strong, but that the opponent was too weak. The explosion of the undead spaceship blew Ronan in front of Sauron. Blue blood spewed out of his mouth, and there was a deep depression in his chest. His ribs and heart were turned into bone meal and flesh. What you can see is that there is less air coming in and more air coming out. Sauron squatted in front of Ronan, scratched his head. Tien Fen said embarrassedly. Ronan, I didn't want to beat you to death, but I didn't expect you to be so incapable of being beaten. Don't worry, if you die, the Dark Star will become my vehicle. As for your wife, I will support him. He didn't say anything. Who knows if Ronan has a wife? Ronan wanted to speak, but only blue blood and internal organs came out of his mouth. Oh, you want to see the cosmic spirit ball? Sauron generously opened the cosmic spirit ball and let him see the power gem inside. Ronan, it's useless even if you get it. Your body can't bear the power of the power stone at all. And although your hammer can be used as a temporary carrier of the power stone, when you use more than a certain amount, when you use energy, your hammer will also explode. So, if you want to destroy Xandar with a hammer inlaid with power gems, you can only call it a dream. If it could be that simple, would Thanos specifically build the Infinity Gauntlet? Ronan's eyes widened as he breathed his last. I originally wanted you to die in peace, but why did you die in peace? Sauron was really speechless. Nebula saw the cosmic spirit ball, and also saw Ronan who was beaten to death. She piloted the undead spaceship to fly out of the void and return to the Dark Star. Ronan is dead, use all your firepower, destroy the land of nothingness for me. She knew she couldn't defeat Sauron, so she just resorted to heavy firepower. When everyone was killed, she could get the gems from the ruins and give them to her father, Thanos, to prove that she was the best daughter. On the Dark Star, all weapons began to charge. Sauron frowned, and the power of his mind covered the entire Dark Star, controlling everyone inside. Then, all weapons are turned off. Nebula was dumbfounded. FAQ. I said fire, but no one responded to her. The next second, Sauron appeared in Nebula's undead spacecraft, and his hand grabbed Nebula's neck. Nebula froze up. Thanos is really nothing. You are much more beautiful than Gamora, but he transformed you into this. Are you cruel to him? Sauron said in Nebula's ear. You don't need to say that about my father. His transformation of me has given me greater power. Nebula retorted vigorously, but Sauron's telepathy knew that Nebula was full of hatred for Thanos in his heart. If she didn't hate him, she wouldn't resist Thanos like Gamora. Sauron's hands wandered around Nebula's body. He was checking to see how much Nebula had been transformed. Fortunately, only the limbs, one eye and one ear were modified. The body is still original. Nebula's heart was filled with fear and anger. She had never been treated like this before. Nebula, the Power Stone is in my hand, you can't take it away. However, how can I bear to let you go back and be punished? I will tell you the location of the Soul Gem and how to obtain it. I think with this, your father will still reward you well. In the face of obtaining Soul Gem, all living beings are truly equal. Let's leave such an equal matter to Thanos, who believes in the principle of equality. He just picked up a ready-made soul gem that he snatched from others, and it worked just as well. Nebula, the soul gem is on Vomir star. You can only exchange for the soul gem by sacrificing your loved ones. Soul for soul, this is the only way to get soul gem. Xingyan was suddenly stunned. Who will be his father's most beloved person? Countless undead spacecraft returned to the Dark Star. The Dark Star is different from the traditional Kree Empire battleship. This is the strongest battleship on the undead planet that Ronan once conquered and became his trophy. Even though the command of the entire fleet was deprived, Ronan still owned the battleship and the Necron spaceship in the battleship. The pilots of these undead spaceships are all undead, but they are actually living beings. Their master died, and Sauron became their new master. Nebula is driving a Necron spaceship to escape here. She wants to tell her father Thanos about the soul gem in order to obtain his forgiveness. Sauron entered the undead spacecraft, and everything here was dominated by dark tones. But this does not affect the fact that the Dark Star is a powerful space battleship. Although it is not as huge as Thanos' car, Holy Place No. 2, it is quite good in size. If it is sent to the Nova Empire, and the Nova Empire can perform some technical upgrades and modifications on it, it can completely serve as its own car. When the time comes, drive back to Blue Star and scare to death those who are hostile to you. There are only a few days left before the carnival party of the gods held on the planet Ego. It's time to take Star-Lord there and let father and son recognize each other. Then kill the god-brained Ego. Whether the core of the god is integrated or recycled depends on what gains can be gained by killing the god's brain, Yi Zhe. But Sauron still prefers to recycle. 8 million gold coins are enough to show that the legendary equivalent of the core knowledge of the gods is not the mythical equivalent. Now Sauron is more eager for the mythical equivalent. After recycling the core of the gods, he can collect a few million gold coins. You can perform the mythic triple draw. Just thinking about it makes Sauron have a tendency to raise his head. Sauron summoned Star-Lord, Rocket and others to enter the Dark Star. In the land of nothingness, due to the firepower of the undead spacecraft, there are ruins and injured people everywhere, but Diffin is not dead yet. With the protection of the Diffin group, the place will be restored soon. In the Diffin Museum, all the remaining display cabinets were destroyed due to the explosion, and only a few species survived. Among them, there is a facehugger. The alien egg that gave birth to the facehugger withstood the damage of the explosion. The facehugger took advantage of the chaos and quietly left Defan's museum like a mouse. It is in the land of nothingness, looking for a parasitic target. An ordinary miner is 90% similar to humans, but has natural black lines on his skin. This is an ordinary alien race, working hard to mine here to feed their family on their own planet. The facehugger was hiding in the shadows, but the little movement it made attracted his attention. What is this? He got closer to observe, but the facehugger suddenly pounced on him. It hugged his face, and the tail of the facehugger was tightly wrapped around his neck. The toxin released caused him to fall into a coma instantly, but an alien egg had already entered his body and began to absorb his genes and hatch. Gradually, the facehugger loses its life and dies completely. When he woke up, he saw the facehugger on the ground, his face full of confusion. I checked my body and found that there were no changes, so I hurried home. When all this happened, Sauron had already left the void in the Dark Star. Little did he know that the alien baby who had just joined the Marvel family was about to cause a disaster. But even if Sauron knew it, he would never stop it. The alien can absorb the host's powerful genes to evolve into an alien warrior with its ability. In this universe, there are countless super abilities. If an alien parasitizes the body of a god, and then hatches a godlike alien and becomes the alien queen, then the aliens hatched from her eggs also have the gene ability of the god. That is to constantly send high-quality leaks to Sauron. On the Dark Star, Rocket, Groot, Drax, Star-Lord, and Gamora are all there. Because of the appearance of Sauron, the plot changed. Star-Lord did not make sacrifices for Gamora, so Gamora did not fall in love with Star-Lord. There is also an additional space dog. She is squatting next to Sauron at the moment, wagging her tail happily. The master praises me as a good dog. The master praises me as a good dog. Her space suit has a kind of black technology, and the space dog can use this device to speak through force. Sauron sat on the ground and touched the space dog's head with one hand. This dog was very clean. He could use his psychokinesis to clean dirt and bugs such as fleas on his body. Quill, do you want to see your father? Sauron asked directly. You know my father. Quill was instantly excited. He had never seen his father, but only heard from his mother, but his mother died of cancer when he was a child. And he was also kidnapped from the Blue Star by Yondu and brought into the vast universe. Your father is not human. As soon as Sauron opened his mouth, Quill was so angry that he dared not speak. Why are you scolding people all of a sudden? He is the brain of a god, and has existed for millions of years. After a long evolution, he has possessed huge divine power, gathered the matter in the universe and wrapped himself tightly, and gradually he became a brain planet. But he couldn't move, so he created an avatar and walked the universe in search of life. After he came to Blue Star, he met your mother, and you were born. You have half of the god's genes in your body. After Sauron finished speaking, not only Star-Lord was stunned, but Rocket and Gamora were also stunned. How can this be? Star-Lord was immediately surprised. He had never thought that his father would be an alien or a brain that had existed for millions of years. Ego Star, you should have said that. In the eyes of many ordinary civilizations throughout the universe, Ego is a private planet with a beautiful environment. Little did he know that the owner of Ego Star, Ego, was actually the original incarnation of Ego Star. I really want to hear Thanos say that Ego is a very special existence. Gamora suddenly spoke. Star-Lord didn't believe Sulun, but he believed Gamora. In a few days, I will go to Ego Star to attend a rave party. Star-Lord, do you want to meet your father? A rave party? What is that? Drax said with confusion in his mind. Ego Planet never allows outsiders to enter, so how could it possibly hold a carnival party? Rocket didn't believe it very much. I'm Groot. What is a rave? Can I attend? Sauron stood up and said to everyone. Forgot to introduce me. I am the sun god of Asgard, and I am a cosmic god like Igos. The carnival party on the planet Ego is a carnival of the gods, and Ego will also participate. At this moment, Star-Lord and others knew Soren's identity. Star-Lord has followed Yondu for so long, so he naturally knows that God is real. You are actually a god. No wonder you are so powerful. Star-Lord quickly said respectfully. He completely believed Soren's words. I am willing to follow you to Ego Star. Sauron patted Star-Lord on the shoulder and smiled. Quill, I am also from Blue Star, relax. Star-Lord's eyes suddenly widened, and he looked at Sauron in disbelief. He can accept that Sauron is the god of Asgard. He can even accept that Sauron is an extremely ancient existence. But he never imagined that Sauron was actually a Blue Star person. This is simply incredible. Are you also from Blue Star? But how is this possible? Sauron smiled and said, I met another god on Blue Star in the Almighty City half a month ago, Jesus, the god of carpenters. Unfortunately, he is not very good at fighting. Jesus was a carpenter, and the carpenter god in Thor 4 means Jesus. This is why when talking about other gods, they are all on camera, but the carpenter god is not afraid of opposition from believers. Star-Lord was completely dumbfounded. Western families grew up in such an environment even if they did not believe in Jesus. When Star-Lord entered the universe, he thought it was just an ordinary religious legend. What are you guys saying? Rocket couldn't understand the conversation between the two. Star-Lord shook his head vigorously and explained to everyone. In Xandar, the capital of the Nova Empire, the orbital defense system was activated instantly. The Dark Star jumped through space and appeared above the Xandar star. Ronan the Accuser, are you going to declare war on our Nova Empire? Xinxing Supreme sent a video communication to the Dark Star, and asked sternly as soon as the connection was connected. Star-Lord's face appeared in front of Nova Supreme. Dear Nova Supreme, Ronan the Accuser has been killed by the Sun Temple. Now this giant ship is the trophy of His Highness Sauron, the Sun God. What? On Xandar, everyone in the Empire Command Center was stunned. Xinxing Supreme's eyes widened even more. Are you talking about His Highness Sauron, the Sun God of Asgard? Nova Supreme asked with some uncertainty. Definitely. Quill moved the camera and Sauron appeared on the screen. His Majesty Xinxing, doesn't he recognize me? Sauron says hello. Under the Temple of the Sun, aren't you in our hotel? The security personnel in the hotel have confirmed more than a dozen times that Sauron has never left. Just a little duplication trick, Sauron said calmly and took back the duplication. Nova Supreme saw the sun god Sauron disappear instantly in the hotel, and they really believed it. Turn off the orbital defense system and allow the Dark Star to land. Xingxing Supreme led his ministers to the spaceship dock to greet him. Sauron stepped off the Dark Star, faced the new Star Supreme, and said with a smile, "Your Majesty, the new Star Supreme, can you do me a little favor?" Ronan the Accuser, a troublesome figure for the entire Nova Empire, was eliminated by Sauron. Nova Supreme said quickly, "You eliminated Ronan and solved the war crisis facing the Nova Empire. If you have any needs, our Nova Empire will meet them. Then please help me carry out a comprehensive upgrade and transformation of this Dark Star. My dignified sun god, driving a Dark Star is a bit inconsistent with my identity. For specific transformation requirements, Rocket will tell you billions." Chapter 91. Nova Supreme looked at the Dark Star. This is a very large battleship that is rare in the universe. A comprehensive upgrade and transformation of it will consume extremely huge resources of the Nova Empire. The Nova Empire has always been stingy. In the original work, the Guardians of Galaxy protected Xandar from destruction, and also handed over the extremely precious Power Stone to the Nova Empire. What did he get in exchange? Erasure of criminal records, and a brand new Phoenix small spacecraft. As for the spaceship in Silver Guardian 3, they only had the funds to build it after they occupied the Land of Nothingness. One of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, just a few cards. Sauron will not be polite. It was impossible for Rocket to be taken to the carnival, so it would be just right for him to stay and help Sauron supervise the transformation of the Dark Star. Rocket is a super genius. Even his creator, Supreme Evolution, was confused by the problem that Rocket could see at a glance. Sauron left a duplication as a deterrent. He believed that the rocket would make the people of the Nova Empire use all their strength. This time, there are Star-Lord and Gamora on the sailing battleship. "Sauron, you are so uninteresting. You should take me to participate in such a battle. What is Ronan the Accuser? I will definitely let him taste the departure of my hammer." Gamora's eyes wandered over Thor's body. When Star-Lord saw this, he immediately became jealous. "You are a little hammer, but you still want to deal with Ronan. I think you have trouble dealing with a child." Star-Lord immediately turned on Thor. Thor was instantly furious. "How dare you, a mere mortal, be so disrespectful to my mighty Thor? Do you dare to accept my challenge?" Thor looked at Star-Lord with contempt. If Star-Lord was not brought by Sauron, he would have killed him immediately. What's wrong with that? Star-Lord accepted the challenge immediately. In his opinion, Thor only drank and boasted about wanting to pick up his woman Gamora. Loki looked like he was enjoying the show, while Sif rolled her eyes. "Don't beat him to death, his father is Ego, be careful, Ego comes after you." Sauron reminded him, went into the cabin, and hugged Sif's waist. Sif's body trembled slightly, then softened randomly, and followed Soren's footsteps obediently. "I have admired him for long enough, and this feeling has changed in other directions." The three warriors and others went outside to watch the duel, and Sauron and Zimin were the only ones in the cabin. Just letting Sif sit on his lap, Sauron smiled and said, "Come, wait for me to drink." Sif's face was rosy and he said shyly, "Yes, under the crown of the sun god. Although you can't really do anything, it's still a lot of fun." The duel between Thor and Star-Lord is not interesting. The difference in strength between the two is too big. Thor has awakened the power of life and thunder, which is basically the same strength as in Thor 3. Although Star-Lord has the ancient god gene, he has not awakened, so he is stronger than ordinary humans, similar to Thor who lost his divine power in Thor 1. How could he beat Thor? Soon, he was taught a lesson by Thor. Thor kept in mind Soren's words and could not kill him. But that didn't stop Star-Lord from being beaten until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. Gamora brought the medical kit and gave Star-Lord medicine. "Are you a fool? He is Thor of Asgard. The sun god is so powerful, how can Thor be worse?" Gamora couldn't help but complain. Star-Lord grabbed Gamora's hand and said with a serious and tender face, "Because I'm jealous. The way you look at him makes me angry." As the adopted daughter of Thanos, Gamora has experienced training and killing since she was a child. Thanos' subordinates are also a group of cruel guys who would play a show of tenderness with Gamora, express love or something like that. This is the first time Gamora has been confessed. She suddenly panicked inside. Star-Lord and Gamora are each other's destiny. Even though the plot has changed, the two still came together. Star-Lord looked at Gamora, who was stunned, and kissed her directly. When she first tasted this, Gamora's mind went blank. But the vigilance instinct formed around Thanos still pushed Star-Lord away. She suddenly sat on Star-Lord's body, took out the knife on her leg, and put it on Star-Lord's neck. "What did you do to me?" Star-Lord is confused. "Just give him a kiss. What can he do? Have you never kissed anyone?" Star-Lord thought of a possibility and asked quickly. The knife in Gamora's hand was so hard that Star-Lord's head was pressed tightly against the ground. "Gamora, I admit that I was impulsive and kissed you without your permission, but I really like you so much." Waiting for people and watching the excitement, Gamora was extremely panicked. She lowered her body, stared at Star-Lord and threatened, "Shut up. If you dare to do this again, I will kill you with one knife." In Star-Lord's carefree pursuit of Gamora, the sailing battleship finally arrived at its destination, the planet Ego. Planet Ego is about the file size of the moon, but it has a gravity similar to that of Blue Star. The surface of the planet is full of all kinds of mysterious life. The entire Ego star is like a beautiful paradise on Earth. Under Sauron's supervision, the constantly beating god's brain was wrapped in a layer of extremely hard metal. Many gods have already arrived here, and the spaceship is parked in outer space. Sauron took everyone and teleported to the planet Ego. In the palace built by Yijay, all the gods gathered and chatted here. The appearance of Sauron caused all the gods here to stand up quickly. The strength of the number one god in the universe was achieved by Sauron forcefully. "Sauron! Sauron! Sauron!" The gods began to cheer Sauron's name, and Sauron was generous and waved to the gods with a smile. It was the first time for Egg to see Sauron, but his eyes were firmly attracted by Star-Lord next to Sauron. The throbbing feeling coming from one's own blood cannot be disguised by any force. Sauron also looked at the gods here. He was looking for his father, and soon met Ego's eyes. Seeing this, Sauron said loudly, "Everyone, before the carnival begins, I would like to announce something good. This human named Quill is Egg's wandering child. Egg, I'll help you bring your child back." The eyes of all the gods present are intriguing. What Ego has done over the years, the gods, many cosmic powers, and the powerful Big Shot all know. They believe that although Sauron is a newly promoted god, since he has found Yijay's son, he must also know what Yijay is going to do. Then, Sauron must have an agenda. He is definitely not a good person, he is purely helping Egg and his son get to know each other. Only Egg felt that his affairs were very secret, but he didn't know that it was already an open secret in the universe. "Quill, I am your father." Egg's face was full of love and surprise, and he said to Star-Lord with an expression. Star-Lord has been longing for his father's love for a long time. "Are you really my father?" Star-Lord also stared at Egg. Although he believed what Sauron said, when he actually faced it, he was still a little unbelievable. Egg reached out and touched Star-Lord's face. When he touched it, the god gene in Star-Lord's body was awakened. A feeling of blood connection established a connection between Star-Lord and Ego. "Father, you are really my father." Star-Lord hugged Egg excitedly and cried bitterly. But the gods present looked at each other in confusion, with only the thought of watching a show in their eyes. After Ego and Star-Lord recognized each other, no one cared about their father-son exchanges. The gods are only focusing on Carnival now. And what on earth is the sun god Sauron planning against Ego? They didn't think about killing the god at all. The mind of the god Yijay is not that easy to solve. Although Sauron had some guesses, he still felt that his heart was too narrow-minded after actually seeing the carnival scene of the gods. The carnival of the gods deserves to be called crazy. The specific scene cannot be described, otherwise it will attract the attention of the supreme god of the endless multi-universe. Gods who are not bound by any moral code are really playing tricks. What Sauron had seen and heard in his previous life was only a fraction of what he had seen and heard in this carnival. Such no taboos made Sauron lose interest in participating. He only likes happiness in the normal range. Thor and Loki, on the other hand, happily joined in. Soren's self-righteousness made Eximo's feelings toward Sauron even more intense. There was no one left on the sailing battleship. It was the first time for the three warriors to participate in such a carnival. It can be said that he has benefited from Sauron. A spiritual barrier envelops the sailing warship, blocking out the prying eyes of any gods. It is better to have some normal things with Sif here, which is the happiness Sauron likes. The carnival of the gods made Gamora just want to stay away from here, but she did not have a spaceship, and Star-Lord was asked by Agora to introduce his history. Aboard, Gamora wandered around the planet Ego. When she passed a cave, she heard crying coming from inside. Curious, Gamora walked into the cave and saw the back of a girl. "Hello." Gamora said hello, and Mantis Girl was instantly startled. She turned around suddenly and saw Gamora. "Who are you?" Mantis Girl warned, but Gamora was shocked by the dense pile of skeletons in front of Mantis Girl. She strode up to the Mantis Girl and put the knife in her hand on the Cockroach Girl's neck. "What's going on? Who are these skeletons?" There was a faint worry in Gamora's heart, and Mantis Girl felt extremely frightened, and her two tentacles began to glow. She is using her ability to comfort Gamora. "Who are you? How did you get here?" Mantis Girl asked back. She took advantage of the gods. Carnival here and Egg's attention was on the gods, so she secretly came here to pay homage to her half-brothers and sisters. Because Mantis Girl's ability was useful to Yi spared her life after confirming that Mantis Girl had not inherited his god's power. "Speak quickly, otherwise I will kill you." Gamora's resistance to Mantis Girl's ability is a bit high. The sharp knife made a gash in Mantis Girl's neck, and blood flowed out. Mantis Girl knew that Gamora was not joking. She said, "These are all Ego's children. They were sent back from all over the universe. After Ego's test, none of them inherited Ego's power of the gods. So they were all killed by Egg." Gamora looked at the piles of bones and skeletons in front of her. "There are only a few if there are not even 10,000. Are these Egg's children?" Gamora is simply unbelievable. There are actually cruel existences in the universe. These are all Ego's children, but he killed all his own children. Egg's level of evil in Gamora's heart instantly surpassed that of Thanos. Although Thanos is not a good person, he attacks the planets all over the universe, and then randomly loses half of the population. But Gamora also had to admit that Thanos was really kind to her adopted daughter. Thanos thinks it is fair that he randomly wipes out half of all life, so when he snaps his fingers, those planets that he once wiped out half of the population will have wiped out 3/4 of the population. Then Thanos is unfair. The knife left Mantis Girl's neck. Mantis Girl quickly reached out to check and breathed a sigh of relief when she found that it was only a small wound. At the moment, Gamora only worried about Star-Lord in her heart. "Then who are you?" But Gamora did not let go of Mantis immediately, but continued to ask questions. "Actually, I am also Egg's child, but I have the ability to soothe my emotions. Egg is in great pain in his heart, and he needs my ability to fall asleep. So I became the only child he didn't kill." After Mantis Girl explained, she asked Gamora, "Are you the one who comes to the carnival with the gods? Why didn't you join the carnival?" Gamora turned around and walked out and said, "I'm not here to participate in the carnival of the gods. My friend is Yi-Ji's child, and I'm going to save him now." Mantis Girl's eyes lit up instantly. She was taken away from her planet when she was still a child, and she has never seen any relatives since then. Even though he stayed by his father's side, he didn't feel his father's love at all, and he could feel the pain in Egg's heart every day. When she heard that she had an older brother or younger brother who had fallen into the hands of Egg, she decided to save her older brother or younger brother. "Wait a minute, I'll help you." Mantis Girl chased after me. At this moment, in Ego's palace, Ego had already introduced his birth and love with Star-Lord's mother to Star-Lord. With his father's love, Star-Lord, under the guidance of Ego, carefully felt Ego's star. The power of the gods was born between Star-Lord's hands, and he produced an energy ball. "Yes, that's it." Egg was extremely excited. He has waited for thousands of years and reproduced life with countless races. Some of these races are not even humanoid. However, none of the children Yondu gave him inherited the god gene. Now, the child with the god gene finally appears. But while the gods are carousing here, he can't carry out his plan yet. He could not guarantee that his plan to destroy countless lives would be opposed by some powerful god. He continued his role as a loving father. At night, the excited Star-Lord returned to his room, but Kayla suddenly walked in. "Hi, Gamora, you never imagined what I did today." But Gamora looked anxious, took Star-Lord's hand, and said, "Follow me quickly." But she didn't pull Star-Lord, who said with confusion, "What's wrong? This place is so beautiful, why do you want to leave? I just met my father." Gamora was so anxious that she grabbed Star-Lord by the collar and whispered, "Quill, you have no idea what kind of person Ego is. I found a cave filled with thousands of skeletons. Do you know who those skeletons belong to? Your half-brothers and sisters. They were killed by Egg because they didn't have the god gene." After Gamora finished speaking, she was about to pull Star-Lord away, but Star-Lord's face was full of confusion and disbelief. "Gamora, don't joke with me. How could my father do such a thing? And can all children who are not fathers have the god gene?" Gamora was stunned for a moment. Mantis Girl's voice sounded from the door. "Oh my god, do you have the god gene? Who are you?" Star-Lord looked at Mantis Girl. "She is your half-sister." Gamora's voice sounded faintly. "My biological sister." Star-Lord looked at Mantis, who was obviously younger than him, and he was surprised. "Are you really my sister?" Mantis Girl walked up to Star-Lord, and she indeed felt the special aura of her father, Egg. Kangji said that Mantis Girl and Star-Lord are not biological siblings. Star-Lord's body is half human and half god gene, but Mantis Girl did not inherit the god gene. Her body is pure cockroach gene. But in fact, they are indeed half-brothers and sisters. What she said is true. Egg killed all the children who did not inherit the god's genes except me. Although you have inherited his genes, he will not let you go. He has planted his own life seeds on almost every living planet in the universe. Shilly, by combining two godless power emperors, he can make all the life seeds in the universe start to sleep. He will destroy all life in the universe and make himself the only life. The planet you were born on, the planet I was born on, will be destroyed. All life on it will be replaced by Ego." Mantis tried her best to persuade him, saying that as long as Star-Lord leaves, Ego's ambition cannot be realized. Before Star-Lord could be controlled by Ego with the power of the gods, he immediately thought of his grandfather on Blue Star. "Then we must stop him. What if he gives birth to another child with the gene of a god?" At this moment, Star-Lord only feels that he has a heavy responsibility. "Why?" At this time, a sigh sounded. Egg stepped out of the darkness. "This is my planet, and everything that happens here cannot escape my perception. Child, now that you know, then come with me and realize my ideal." A tentacle formed from the power of the gods pierced Star-Lord's chest, and Star-Lord's spleen and Ego Star became one body. At this moment, Ego was able to mobilize the power of the two gods, and he instantly sensed the countless duplications he had placed throughout the galaxy. He began to provide energy for these duplications. Throughout the galaxy, on almost every living planet, Egg's life seeds began to grow crazily. Like a growing snot, it crazily invades the ground. Gamora begins to attack Ego, but how can she fight Ego's duplication standing on Ego's planet? The energy rope formed by the power of the gods trapped Gamora and Mantis Girl aside. Star-Lord's body was tortured by endless pain. At this moment, he could also feel the crazy expansion of the seeds of life on every planet in the universe. "Ego, you keep saying you love my mother, why do you want to destroy her planet?" Star-Lord asked loudly. Egg couldn't help but fall into memories, and he said, "Your mother is indeed the woman I love most. My Sayuri, I can remember the lyrics of every song I listened to with her. I have gone back to Blue Star 3 times to see him. 3 times. I know that as long as I go back one more time, I will never be able to start my expansion plan. I had to make the painful choice to put the tumor into her head." Star-Lord, who was suffering endless pain, instantly fell into a rage that transcended everything. "You killed my mother." The anger in Star-Lord's heart surpassed everything else. He fought for the power of the gods inserted into his chest, grabbed his 2 guns and aimed at Ego's crazy designs. Egg's body was blasted with holes by energy bombs, but he was just an avatar. As long as you stand on the ego star, there will be an endless supply of divine power to replenish it. Seeing ego being repaired by energy, Star-Lord knew that he would never be able to defeat ego with his own strength. The only thing he can count on now is one person. Sun God, Sauron. Sun God Sauron, I need your help. Star-Lord suddenly shouted. As you wish. A loud voice rang in everyone's ears. A tall and straight figure descended from the sky, penetrated the palace building, and landed in front of everyone. Sauron was wearing his Superman battle suit, but the S on his chest became a sun pattern. Sauron, do you want to be my enemy? Egg said with a gloomy expression. He chose to wait for the gods to leave before taking action, just because he was afraid that the gods would interfere. Star-Lord knew his intentions and forced himself to take action now, which indeed led to the intervention of the gods. Ego, you are just a brain, what qualifications do you have to talk to me like this? Sauron will not give ego face. Blue Star is my territory. If you dare to take my territory, this is a declaration of war against me. When Sauron came up, he stood on the side of justice. Even if other gods came, they could only stand on Sauron's side. Egg had heard about Sauron's undefeated battle against all the gods in the Golden Temple of the Gods. He also didn't want to start a war with Sauron casually. I can let Blue Star go. But don't interfere with my behavior, okay? Egg felt that Sauron should be satisfied. However, Sauron's response to him was only a blazing white heat vision. Egg's duplication was completely destroyed, but this also completely angered Egg. The entire planet Ego began to shake. The majestic power of the gods began to boil. The gods in the carnival suddenly woke up. In an instant, they knew what had happened. Shit, is Egg crazy? He dares to confront the sun god. Want to destroy all sentient beings in the universe. Born from madness, they must be destroyed from madness. Are we watching a show or not? For a moment, the gods returned to their spaceships in space, then stayed away and watched the show quietly. Sauron casually sent Star-Lord and others to the sailing battleship. He was suspended in space, looking at Rage's planet in front of him. Don't be too relaxed when dealing with a target that's huge and can't leave at will. Sauron flew downwards, and the friction between his body and the air produced strong flames and light. Sauron, the Japanese fist hit the ground hard. A mighty force exploded. The Earth's crust was fierce. This blow was no bigger than the impact of a small planet, but it couldn't cause any harm to Egg. His body is not the planet, but the huge amounts of brain in the planet. Sauron didn't even think about sending Egg away with just one punch. He grabbed the loose and broken crust and threw it outward. A piece of land broke away from the ego star and became a meteorite wandering in space. When the gods saw this scene, they were stunned. Oh my god, his power has increased again. He is obviously the sun god, but why does he have such a terrifying body? Hercules, can you do this? No, if you ask me to do that blow just now, I can still do it, but I can't throw such a large piece of the Earth's crust into space. Boom, another huge amount of the Earth's crust was torn off by Sauron and thrown into space. He wants to clear all of Egg's defenses bit by bit, and then kill him completely. An incarnation of huge amounts of ego appeared. When he saw this scene, he was extremely angry. But there was fear in the anger. No, what are you doing? You have already taken away my child and I can no longer carry out my plan. Why are you still attacking me? The incarnation of Egg came to stop Sauron, but all the attacks formed by the power of the gods were unable to cause harm to Sauron. As Sauron operated the god's breathing method, Yi-Ji's power of the god was plundered by Sauron. Refined. What kind of power do you have? No, this is the power of the gods. Why do you also have the power of the gods? Egg felt like his huge brain was turning into paste. Sauron would ignore it and continue to dismantle Ego Star. Gods in the distance can hear their voices. Zeus said, "This ego is just the brain of a certain fallen group of gods, how dare you underestimate the gods of the world?" Sauron is a descendant of one of the 5 gods, and he is a being above the gods. The other gods nodded and thought that was it. Egg's whole brain was numb. With the power of the gods, his attack on Sauron was not effective at all. Instead, he was attacked and devoured by him. His own duplication cannot stop him from dismantling his outer rock defense. Sauron, I surrender. Please let me go. Seeing that half of his outer crust was removed, his inner metal defense was exposed. As Egg surrendered, Sauron stopped, but he didn't really stop. Just when Ego breathed a sigh of relief and thought he had escaped, Soren's eyes lit up with scorching white heat vision. The thick layer of metal surrounding Ego's core cannot even block the industrial laser used for mining on Yondu's spaceship, let alone Soren's heat vision. Within a few breaths, a huge amount of metal holes appeared. Through this metal hole, you can see a constantly beating super brain. Yi Jie was extremely frightened, and the majestic power of the gods shrank completely, wrapping his brain tightly. Sauron, I am willing to hand over my collection of hundreds of years. Please let me go. Egg kept begging for mercy, but in Soren's eyes, the most precious thing was this brain. This is the brain of the celestial god group, which gave birth to self-awareness, like an alternative celestial god group. Sauron stood at the entrance of the metal hole, holding both sides with both hands. In the fixed star system where the ego star is located, the power of the fixed star blessed Sauron. He used all his power, plus the blessing of fixed star. His power jumped to bronze Superman level. Click. Thick cracks appeared on the thick metal shell. This metal shell is not an ordinary metal. It can be used by Egg as a final defense. It can also be used to build battlefields. Exclamation mark. But it was torn apart by the terrifying power of Sauron, the bronze Superman. Boom. Soren's muscles all over his body were tense, showing the ultimate beauty of strength. Many female gods drooled with envy when they saw this scene. The metal sphere, together with the half of the intact crust, was split into two halves by Sauron. Egg, the brain of this god group, was completely exposed to the universe. Just like millions of years ago, when it first gave birth to self-awareness. No, Egg let out a cry of pain and despair. The extremely rich power of the gods made Sauron drool. That is Yi Jie, millions of years of accumulation. If Sauron is allowed to practice on his own and accumulate such a huge power of the gods, it will probably take thousands of years. Ego relies on instinct and millions of years of accumulation. Sauron uses the breath of the gods to draw energy from countless fixed stars. But fixed star energy is low-level energy, and low-level energy is converted into the power of the gods. Extremely high-level energy, 10,000 units of fixed star energy can be converted into 1 unit of God's power. In a short period of time, Sauron can no longer kill Yi Jie. Once Yi Jie dies, these huge powers of the gods will dissipate. That is a waste of natural resources. Sauron calculated in his mind that it would take him several years to refine all the power of the gods. But once it is refined and becomes your own energy, you will reach the bronze Superman level. Otherwise, you don't know how long it will take to slowly cultivate. Sauron decided to devour Yi Jie's power of the gods right here, and then kill him after he is done. Ego, I don't have to kill you, but all your powers from the gods belong to me. How? In despair, Yi Jie saw a hope for life. He has an infinite lifespan and is most afraid of death. I promise, it's just the power of the gods accumulated over millions of years. He still has countless lifespans, countless millions of years. Sauron smiled faintly, close the cracked metal balls and use heat vision as electric welding to weld them together. Seeing Soren's scene, the gods were stunned again. Everyone, I have reached a deal with Egg. This place will be turned into a restricted area. Please leave. Sauron faced the gods and spoke calmly. Although Zeus and others were extremely curious, they did not want to offend such a powerful god like Sauron. One spaceship after another jumped through space and left. Sauron returned to the sailing battleship and said to everyone, I will retreat here to absorb the power of Yi Jie. Thor, please return to Asgard. The mission is over. Yes, Sauron. Then Thor said to Star-Lord, don't worry, you will never have to worry about Buddha again. After Sauron finished speaking, he flew out of the sail warship and sat cross-legged at the entrance of the metal hole. Start operating the god's breathing method, and frantically refining the power of the god belonging to Yi Jie. The sailing battleship departs. On Xandar, Soren's duplication knows everything that happened. Although he has 1/3 of Soren's strength, Xandar actually has the main sun. With 3 times the blessing of fixed star, duplication's strength is almost as strong as Soren's. The transformation of the dark star cannot be completed overnight. At first, Xinxing Supreme felt uncomfortable, but Xinxing Supreme soon figured it out. As long as Sauron is on Xandar, no powerful man in the universe will dare to come to Xandar to cause trouble. After thinking about it, Xingxing Supreme began to provide Sauron duplication with various kinds of enjoyment every day. Star-Lord still formed the Guardians of Galaxy. Together with Gamora and others, he established a mercenary team to accept commissions and complete various difficult tasks. Rocket will occasionally join in, but until the transformation of the Dark Star is completed, his main mission is still on this. Thor and Loki returned to Asgard and saw the power of Sauron. Thor looked down upon the giants of Jotunheim even more than in the original book. Thor is eager to conquer the giants of Jotunheim and prove to the universe that Asgard is not the only powerful sun god. Many trains that had fallen off the tracks gradually returned to their original tracks under the terrifying power of correction. Just like the car accident experienced by Doctor Who, it is a fixed point in time. No matter what changes are made, the car accident is destined to happen. All of this happened without Soren's knowledge. He was immersed in the ultimate happiness of running the breathing method of the gods, absorbing the power of the gods accumulated by Yi for millions of years, and quickly strengthening himself. Time flies. It's 2008, the most critical year in the Marvel Universe. This year, Iron Man was born. The entire universe entered an era of disaster and disaster. Above the Blue Star, in New York, on Manhattan Island, the world's tallest skyscraper rises from the ground. This building covers a huge area, and Qian's construction is extremely majestic. Especially the rooftop at the top is built into an extremely beautiful garden. This building is the headquarters of the Super 7. For several years, two Spider-Men were active in New York. Spider-Woman Gwen, and Toby Spider. However, the popularity of the two Spider-Men in the hearts of the public is very different. Toby Spider is just a good neighbor in Queens, but Gwen Spider has become the most popular superhero in New York. Dr. Octopus has completely solved all the problems of artificial sun technology through research on blue giant weapons. The artificial solar power stations built around the world have provided the Super 7 with extremely abundant funds. Norman's interests are in business and research, not being a superhero. In this way, the huge resources of the Super 7 were poured into Gwen Spider and Sand-Dust. But Shachan Mutant's identity is far less popular than Gwen Spider's popularity among the people. MJ has now become the most dazzling star in Hollywood. Her Spider-Man ability has become the best asset in her star career. Sauron duplication has been hiding himself and completing various plans in secret. However, just today, Blue Star's peace was completely broken. The owner of Stark Industries, Tony Stark, went missing after being attacked in the desert of the Middle East for a weapons display. Super 7 headquarters building, a guest came today. Pepper, Ms. Gwen, I'm here to ask you, the Super 7, to help me find Tony and bring him back safely. Tony was attacked and disappeared in the desert of the Middle East. This news spread back to China, instantly causing a stock market crash. Stark's stock fell to the bottom. But for Stark, that doesn't matter. Stark's most precious asset today is Tony, the super genius originally. The advanced technologies he continues to invent are the guarantee for Stark to become America's #1 military-industrial group. Stark's executives and shareholders are looking for their own connections to save Tony. Except for Obadiah, who caused all this to happen, everyone else knows very well that Tony's shares in their hands will become more and more valuable. Nick Fury, who has become S.H.I.E.L.D. director, also sent Phil Coulson to contact Pepper, hoping that Pepper can accept the help of S.H.I.E.L.D. But Pepper is more willing to believe in Spider-Woman, who has become the most popular superhero in New York. As well as the Super 7 team behind her, and the Superman who has disappeared for many years. Gwen is now a graceful woman, with a hint of mature in her youth. Sister Pepper, our Super 7 team will find Tony. Gwen held Pepper's hand and comforted her. Pepper couldn't help but nodded and said, "You are the only ones I can rely on now." Her current position is nothing more than Tony's personal assistant and secret admirer. Once Tony disappeared, the company resources she could mobilize were very limited. After sending Pepper away, Shachan said, "Gwen, are we really going to find the kidnapped Tony?" Gwen shook her head and said, "It's not me, it's you." Shachan was very confused. "Yes, your ability, Tony, is to disappear into the desert area of the Middle East, which is your home ground. You become a sandstorm and there are no places where you can't spy. When you find Tony, Mr. Norman and I will go and rescue Tony. Shachan nodded and accepted the task. Let John go with you, his ability can keep you safe. Gwen spoke again. Fireman John, after years of training, has finally mastered the fire element transformation, and his strength has been greatly improved. He also successfully joined the reserve team of the Super Sevens. The current Super 7 team is decided by Gwen, who makes her someone's obedient little apprentice. The Super 7 naturally has a huge logistics team and its own supersonic aircraft. Dust and Pyro prepare to go find Tony, while Gwen reaches the top. Master is really too bad. He's been away for so many years and hasn't come back. HMPH. When he comes back, I will definitely ignore him. Gwen said to herself angrily. Ha, who messed with my Spider-Woman? Sauron Blue Star duplication suddenly appeared behind Gwen. Hearing this familiar voice, Gwen turned around suddenly, but she was not surprised, but looked wary. How do you prove that you are my master? Sauron duplication nodded with satisfaction. As expected of Gwen, he was very vigilant. A spiritual power connects Gwen, which are the memories of Sauron and Gwen getting together. Master. Gwen suddenly threw herself into Soren's arms and beat Soren's chest with her small fists. Master, where have you been? Why haven't you come back for so long? Have you forgotten your good little apprentice? Gwen accused eagerly. Sauron wiped away Gwen's tears and said helplessly, Gwen, I have not actually come back. The subject is currently more than 1,000 light years away from the solar system, and is in retreat to absorb the power of an ancient god. I am a duplication created by him. I have been hiding on the blue star since he left. Protecting you. Gwen's eyes widened and she didn't even want to cry anymore. What Sauron said really surprised and incredible her. Are you the master's duplication? Are you a clone? Gwen's understanding of the existence of duplication is probably cloning. No, clones are different individuals with the same genes, but duplication is completely another self created by the subject. We have the same memory. In other words, he can see you through my eyes now. Gwen understood. She stared longingly into Soren's eyes and said, Master, when will you come back? Soon, I'll be back soon. Gwen turned back into the little girl she was before, pulling Sauron into duplication and telling her everything that had happened to her over the years. In the desert of the Middle East, Tony was hit in the chest by fragments of his own missile just like in the original novel. When tiny shrapnel enters the blood vessels, it can only be held by the magnet placed on the chest to prevent these tiny shrapnel from entering the heart. He went through all kinds of torture before being asked by the Ten Commandments gang to build the Jericho missile. And here, he also discovered a large number of sophisticated weapons manufactured by Stark Industries. Yinsen, why are there a large number of weapons produced by me here? I remember that I never approved the sale of weapons to these terrorists. Tony still looked like he couldn't accept it. This was a huge blow to him. He would rather be hit in the head by a bullet produced by another company than be hit by his own weapon. Tony, don't you know? The weapons produced by Stark Industries have stable performance, powerful firepower, and high accuracy. They are the favorite weapons of local warlords and organizations. 8 of the 10 people here who own weapons have it's a weapon of your Stark Industries. Hu Yinsen lives here and has seen too many people die from the bullets of Stark weapons. But through Tony's words, he realized that these weapons were not sold by Tony. Tony is so smart, he quickly understood that someone in his company sold weapons to those terrorists. Even his kidnapping was related to that person. CCDI, Tony recalled carefully, and soon connected it with the phone call he received from Obadi before the attack. The day here in the Middle East is the night in America. Are you really worried about this arms sales? Osborne Company has fully transformed into biomedicine and energy, and Hammer Industries is no match for Stark Enterprises. Originally, Tony did not need to come to the Jericho missile soldiers this time. But Obadiah convinced Tony to get involved with the military. Obadi. Anger grew in Tony's heart, and he was sure that his guess was correct. Obadiah must have betrayed him and wanted to seize his Stark Industries. Hu Yinsen acted as if he hadn't heard anything. Yinsen, I need your help. Tony, who understood everything, immediately regained his fighting spirit. I need to make a powerful weapon to help us jump out. But I need your help. Tony looked at Yinsen with a sincere face. Hu Yinsen was kidnapped, so he is naturally an enemy of the Ten Commandments gang. How to do? Yinsen asked. You know Osborn's artificial son, right? Tony started drawing on the paper. I definitely know. It was a great energy revolution. If it weren't for the wars raging here, we would probably be able to use cheap and clean energy. The artificial sun is thermonuclear fusion, and we at Stark Industries have the only cold fusion reactor in the world. Ever since I witnessed the birth of the artificial sun, I have been studying how to shrink the cold fusion reactor. Now, it's time to present the results of my research. With the help of Hu Yinsen, Tony began to develop the world's first micro-arc reactor in this cave, relying on backward equipment. Tony, how's his hair? Hu Yinsen is a doctor and has only some basic understanding of nuclear physics. 3 billion joules of energy per second. Tony said proudly. It is equivalent to generating 833 degree points per second. If a Tesla is fully charged and then drained, it can be charged a full 8 times. If it is fully charged and runs 500 kilometers at a time, a Tesla can run 4,000 kilometers. And this is just the electricity generated by the arc reactor in 1 second. Oh my god, this will give you 50 lives. Or give a big guy 5 minutes of energy. Tony overlaid the drawings he drew under the light, and a steel armor appeared in front of Hu Yinsen. Tony replaced the arc reactor and, together with Hu Yinsen, began to build his own war equipment. But the terrorists who were monitoring Tony through surveillance had no suspicion at all. No, there was only one leader of the Ten Commandments gang, who was also the bald man in the original book. He had doubts but allowed Tony to carry out his own actions. Master, Tony Stark has started building the steel armor. The bald leader Raza knelt respectfully in front of Sauron duplication. Very well, don't go there anymore these days, or you might get killed by Tony. Yes, Master. Sauron used the power of his mind to turn bald Raza into his slave, just to wipe out the Ten Commandments gang. What Mandarin, Shang-Chi, destroy all these insulting things. At the same time, the sand turned into a sandstorm, blowing everywhere in the desert areas of the Middle East. She actually found the cave where Tony was trapped. She sent a small stream of sand and flew into the cave, confirming Tony's existence. In a supersonic plane hundreds of kilometers away from here, sand dust turned back into human form and walked into the plane. How about it? John has matured a lot and has shown his ability over the years, but his identity as a mutant has never been accepted by the public. Although he obviously has great super ability, he can only become an auxiliary logistics role like Shachin. Found it. Our mission is completed, we can inform Gwen. John looked at the vast desert outside, but said, Shachin, I want to go and rescue Tony from the hospital. John, don't act nonsense. Gwen has her own plans. Shachin said warningly, but how could Huo Ren listen to her? Without Sauron, only Gwen could suppress him. He would not even pay attention to Norman if he had time. There are terrorists here. They use machine guns, rocket launchers, and even missiles. Not the criminals and gangsters in New York City who all use small pistols. Although Gwen is Spider-Woman, she is not Bulletproof Woman. If something goes wrong with her, can you take the responsibility? The fireman opened his mouth and said something that even Shachin couldn't argue with. Everyone knows that Gwen is the captain's little apprentice and is different from everyone else. Then I'll go with you. Shachin gritted her teeth and decided to go along to ensure that Tony would not die. One of them transformed into a sandstorm, and the other transformed into a fire element, heating the air and flying towards the cave where Tony was imprisoned. Soon, the Tian Cheng gang outside saw sandstorms and fireballs flying from the distant sky. Mutant, it's Mutant, someone shouted loudly, and the entire camp instantly entered a state of fighting. On the anti-aircraft positions on both sides, 12.7 mm bullets from anti-aircraft machine guns were fired at the sand and burning people. The sand transforms into a sandstorm. Unless it destroys the entire sandstorm at once, any attack will just scratch it. As for Pyroman, under the transformation of the fire element, he himself is a fireball of more than 5,000 degrees, and the 12.7 mm bullet is directly vaporized. The sand and dust rushed into the cave minister against the flying bullets. The burning man was suspended in midair, allowing the bullets to hit him and be evaporated. You terrorists should all die. John showed no mercy. His hands fired fireballs with temperatures of thousands of degrees. Boom. Pile up outside the cave, tightly covered with concealment nets. These are the raw materials for Tony to build the Jericho missile, because some of them are various rockets and missiles produced by Stark. These ammunition were detonated. The tongues of fire that broke out were hundreds of meters high. John immediately laughed. He is a fireman, and he can control flames before the fire element transforms. He controlled the flames generated by the missile explosion. Under his control, 2 giant snakes formed by flames launched an attack on the terrorists in front of him. Boom, boom, da da da. There are gunshots and explosions everywhere. John laughed loudly and vented his ability to his heart's content. Deep in the cave, Wang Ni and Hu Yinsen were stunned when they heard the sound coming from outside. What's going on outside? Is the military coming to rescue you? Yinsen looked at Tony suspiciously, knowing that he would not alert anyone to rescue him. Maybe, but we'd better save ourselves. After Tony finished speaking, he quickly asked Yinsen to help him put on the armor. It was a sandstorm that broke through the door, and in the shocked eyes of Tony and Yinsen, she turned into a Middle Eastern woman with only her eyes exposed. Shet, how could it be you? As a well-known mutant superhero in New York, Tony knew him. It was your female assistant, Miss Pepper, who entrusted our Super 7 team to rescue you. Shachin glanced at the armor on Tony's body and said, the fireman is dealing with those terrorists outside, I'm here to protect you. Watching the startup process of the armor complete the final countdown, Tony said proudly, you protect Yinsen, I have the ability to protect myself. With that said, he controlled the armor and walked outside. Soon, Tony came outside and saw the terrorist camp engulfed in flames and people suspended in midair. He suddenly felt like his efforts were in vain. The armor he had worked so hard to build was of no use at this moment. All the terrorists have been eliminated by Sauron. Seeing Tony wearing the armor, Pyro smiled and said, Mr. Tony, if you come out early, I can leave a few for you to try. Shet, you mutants are truly God's darlings. Tony made no secret of his envy. In the past, his sense of mutants was a group of mutated humans with special genes. Don't say I hate it, don't say I like it either. But after this kidnapping, he developed a desire for powerful power. He was envious of mutants, a group of people who were born with super abilities. His heart was shaken again, and he wanted to have powerful abilities. We cannot allow ourselves to be slaughtered again. Tony took one look at the armor on his body and decided to upgrade it when he went back to create a more powerful armor. Shachin and Yinsen also walked out. Shachin said, our plane is 100 kilometers north of here, how are you going to get there? Tony let Yinsen hug him and said, I prepared the flight system. It can't fly 100 kilometers, but it's still no problem for 40 or 50 kilometers. With that said, Tony started up, and Mark 1 took him to drink Yinsen and fly into the sky. Shachin and Huomen followed, and soon, Mark 1 consumed all its energy and disintegrated in the air. Tony and Yinsen went into the desert. High in the sky, Sauron Duplication watched all this happen and did not interfere. Tony becoming Iron Man is a fixed point in the timeline of the Marvel Universe. Even if he wasn't kidnapped by the Ten Commandments gang, Tony would be inspired to make a steel armor for various reasons. On the other hand, John and Tony got along very well. Tisk tisk. This is the steel armor made by the famous super weapon genius. Just like his master, it only lasted less than a few minutes. The burning man landed and opened his mouth like an experienced driver. Tony was immediately irritated and said, you stupid kid, have you ever had a girlfriend? Ask those female models on the cover of Maxim magazine. I never started in half an hour. Pyro's reputation is about the same as Sandust's, and Mutant's identity has caused his talent to be seriously underestimated. Tony, did you really sleep with all the models on Maxim's cover magazine? Pyro was in his 20s and still unopened. He was no match for Tony, a real playboy, when it came to talking about women. As soon as Tony opened his mouth, he was attracted. Tony said in a very showy tone, the one in March is not scheduled because of my schedule, but the 12-year-old is a pair of twins. The burning man was truly envious. Tony's confidence is back. For the sake of saving me, I can eliminate all the terrorists and leave without you saving me. When we get back to America, if you tell me which female model you like, I will give you the following." Pyro's face suddenly became excited. Shachan said with great contempt, "Mr. Tony, didn't you realize Miss Pepper's feelings for you? When she came to us for help, I could see her feelings for you." Tony fell silent instantly. This kidnapping was a complete baptism for Tony. He not only discovered the harm that weapons bring to the world, but also the prodigal son turned back to find his true love, Pepper. "You were right, let's go back to China." Tony spoke after a moment of silence, and then said to Hu Yinsen, "You come with me to America, and I will find your family and bring them to America." Yinsen nodded. Although this is his hometown, he just moved here. He also wants his family to have a stable life and a safe living environment. After Gwen received the notice, she didn't say anything about Pyro and Sandust's private actions to rescue Tony. Instead, he took the opportunity to use the funds of the Super 7 to start sweeping the stock market and acquire shares of Stark Enterprises. As soon as the news of Tony's rescue is announced, the stock price of Stark Enterprises, which has hit rock bottom, will skyrocket. The supersonic plane of the Super 7 landed in the square in front of the headquarters building. At this moment, many journalists, people from the military and conquests, as well as people from various intelligence agencies and military-industrial enterprises have gathered here. Pepper, Obadiah, they're all here. When the cabin door opened and Tony, Yinsen, Huo and Shadu came out, the audience burst into warm applause and dazzling flashes of light. Obadiah stepped forward with a smile on his face and held Tony in his arms. "Tony, I'm glad you're back safely." Tony was already suspicious of Obadiah, so he wore a thick coat to cover the rafting reactor on his chest. Tony dealt with Obadiah casually, and then looked at Pepper. "Pepper, you and I." It was the first time Tony said such words to Pepper, and Pepper's eyes were full of tears, and her eyes were filled with deep love. "I'm afraid that if I change my boss, I'll have to adapt again." Pepper would not say anything sweet in front of countless reporters. But Tony saw what he wanted in Pepper's eyes, and he turned around to face countless reporters and cameras. "I can come back safely, thanks to the firemen and Sandust of the Super 7. They rescued me from the terrorist camp." Tony hid Yinsen's help to him, not to mention Mark Shichuan. Facing so many lights, cameras and reporters for the first time, Burning Man was a little nervous. He pretended to be calm, stood tall and straight, and looked very serious when facing the camera. In fact, he didn't even know what expression he should use. At this time, a reporter loudly asked, "Mr. Tony, what do you think of Mutant?" This is a rather malicious question, because Tony's answer is related to his position. The issue of stance has always been very important. Mutants are just a group of humans with special genes. Among them are good mutants like Fireman and Sandust, and there are also bad mutants who do bad things everywhere. There are also non-mutants who are good people like you, and there are also terrorists like those who kidnapped me. Bad guy. We should use behavioral ethics to distinguish a person's good or bad, rather than genes, which are things that people are born with. After Tony finished speaking, the audience burst into warm applause. Tony raised his hand and pressed it down, signaling to everyone that he still had something to say. "Fireman and Sandust are all my friends. I hope you won't ask me similar questions in the future. As chairman of Stark Industries, I am now announcing a decision. From now on, Stark Industries will shut down the weapons department. Effective immediately. One word can stir up thousands of feet of waves." As Tony said, shutting down the weapons manufacturing department of Stark Industries, everyone was shocked. This is the core and most profitable department of Stark Industries. It can be said that this is also the foundation of Stark Industries. The closure of Stark Industries' weapons manufacturing department not only seriously affected the interests of Stark shareholders, but also caused the military to suffer huge losses. Obadiah stood in front of Tony on the spot and said to reporters, "Tony has just come back and is in the midst of a stress reaction. We will hold a special press conference for the specific decision." Obadiah hated those losers from the Ten Commandments gang in his heart. So many people took so many of his weapons, and even Tony couldn't stand them. He also sent him a video threat to ask him to provide more military needs. But he didn't doubt it yet. After all, With Huo and Shachan coming to rescue him, it was very easy for mutants with powerful super abilities to deal with some terrorists. The impromptu press conference is over, but the entire Wall Street is busy. Stark Enterprises shares crashed. In the headquarters building of the Super 7, Gwen huddled in Soren's arms aggrievedly. Master, people thought that Stark's stock price would skyrocket when Tony came back, but they didn't expect that he would announce the closure of the weapons manufacturing department. All the Stark shares I bought were lost. Sauron smiled and said, Gwen, you must not underestimate Tony. Didn't you read the detailed report of Fireman and Sandust? His steel armor will be a weapon beyond this era. Especially the micro-arc reactor that provides energy for the armor. Our artificial sun can only provide energy for cities or large bases, but this micro-arc reactor can provide power for aircraft, submarines, tanks and armored vehicles, etc. Stark Enterprises and Osborne will become the two giants in the clean energy industry. If you continue to buy shares of Stark Industries now, you can buy as much as you can. It will be a huge amount of wealth in the future. After listening to Soren's explanation, Gwen suddenly became confused. Master, I'm going to continue buying stocks. Gwen ran away in a rage. But under the supervision of Soren's super hearing, something interesting happened to Obadiah. Obadiah's villa, he has a special guest here. Hydra MP, Stern. Congressman, I don't know what business you are talking about. Obadiah still doesn't know the true identity of Congressman Stern, but just thinks that he is a powerful congressman. Stern did not speak, but asked his subordinates to come up with a piece of information. This is a picture taken by a military satellite. It is a picture of Tony wearing Mark I, with Fireman and Dust Flight beside him. He was intercepted by Hydra lurking in the satellite command center and did not report it. Mr. Obadi, I think Tony has lied to the whole world. Stern handed the photo to Obadiah, who took it and looked at it and was stunned for a moment. But soon, greed and excitement appeared in his eyes. He knows very well what impact this thing will have on the world once it is mass-produced. Congressman Stern, how do you want to cooperate? Obadiah asked. Mr. Obadiah, I hope you can master the manufacturing technology of this armor and then provide us with the Emperor's armor. The Stern is talking about are not the military. How much does your military want? Obadiah asked without thinking much. Senator Stern shook his head and said, Mr. Obadiah, I think you haven't understood that we are not conquering America or the military, but Hydra. Obadiah was stunned for a moment. As a good brother of Howard, although he did not participate in the establishment of S.H.I.E.L.D., he knew a lot about Hydra. However, he is not an upright good person. He can even sell weapons to terrorists. In his eyes, the five-headed snake is just a big customer. No problem, but you have to help me completely control Stark Industries. Obadiah also put forward his own conditions. He knows that Hydra has great powers. As you wish. Obadiah quickly obtained the wreckage of the Mark I. Bald Raza, reminded by Sauron, prepared sufficient manpower and alerts. Obadiah had no chance to take action, so he could only agree to Raza's conditions and took away the wreckage of the Mark I. Obadiah established a hidden new department within Stark Industries, gathered the best engineers from Stark Industries, and began to restore and upgrade the Mark X strings. Stark Industries quickly completed the repair and upgrade of the armor, but it also encountered the only problem, the miniaturization of the arc reactor. Not everyone is as talented as Tony. Meanwhile, Tony stayed at home, building a new Mark II. All the information is stored in his private server, and Obadiah has no way to obtain the micro-reactor technology. The difficulties faced by Obadiah cannot be difficult for Hydra at all. Don't forget, Hydra in S.H.I.E.L.D. is Dr. Zola, a genius Hydra scientist recruited through the Paperclip project. And Dr. Zola's most genius design was during World War II. He created various devices that can perfectly utilize Tesseract energy. Weapons and equipment. In HYDRA's base, there is equipment redesigned by Dr. Zola, which can constantly draw energy from the Tesseract. Energy batteries containing high-level energy were delivered to Obadiah's hands. The Tesseract is still in the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is equivalent to being in the hands of Hydra. There are as many high-end energy batteries as you want. Hydra is also more willing to control the energy of this powerful armor. While Tony was manually building his own Mark II, powerful Iron Overlord armors were being constantly produced in Stark Industries' super factory. Even the high-energy energy drawn from the Tesseract has a longer battery life that is more powerful than the current arc reactor before the upgrade. In a certain top-secret base of Hydra, each of the carefully selected elite Hydra pilots are constantly familiar with the operation of the Iron Overlord. These Iron Overlords were weapon upgraded by Hydra scientists. They fully adopted the energy weapons designed by Dr. Zola. Hydra has stored a lot of Tesseract energy over the years, providing these Iron Overlord mechas with sufficient energy and firepower. An Iron Overlord army is being formed. Osborne, Artificial Sun Laboratory. The huge funds brought by the Artificial Sun have allowed Dr. Octopus Otto's laboratory to be constantly upgraded. It has now become the world's top nuclear physics laboratory, attracting many big names in the field to come here to study and work. Dr. Otto rarely leaves here. He is devoted to the research of blue giant weapons. Over the years, it's not that no one came to seize them, it's just that they were all defeated by Dr. Otto. His 4 mechanical tentacles have become more and more powerful after constant upgrades. Since they could not send troops to attack directly, the military and other major forces could only put their minds aside. The Hydras who established the Iron Overlord Legion are active again. A team of Iron Overlords, a total of 10 Iron Overlords, took advantage of the darkness and entered the location of the laboratory. The artificial intelligence mechanical tentacles linked to all monitoring in the entire laboratory discovered the intruder instantly. Dr. Otto restored the blue giant weapon to its polycrystalline structure and put it in his arms. If he is alive, the blue star weapon will be safe. If he dies, the blue star weapon will be found wherever it is hidden. But Dr. Otto's heart suddenly thought of Soren's voice. Put your stuff in a safe and let them snatch it. Dr. Otto was stunned for a moment and said, Soren, are you back? But they don't understand how terrifying this weapon is. Even an energy attack of 100,000th can turn the entire New York into a canyon. It doesn't matter, I set up the authentication, they can't launch it. Dr. Otto still obeyed Soren's advice and placed the things in the super alloy safe. The Iron Overlord team is only on the surface of Hydra, to attract the attention of Dr. Otto. The person actually responsible for stealing Blue Star's weapons was a mutant with the ability to become invisible. His invisibility is very powerful. He hides his body in the secondary space. He can see everything in the main space, but he cannot be seen by any detection method in the main space. Therefore, he personally watched Dr. Otto place the Blue Star weapon in the super alloy safe, and also saw the various passwords and unlocking methods required to open the safe. A set of mechanical knob passwords, a set of 36-digit electronic passwords composed of numbers and letters, palm print authentication, iris authentication, and voice print authentication. Hydra has already obtained the latter 3 biometric authentication methods through various methods. Dr. Otto, Kunita Arms. The Iron Overlords directly blew open the door of the laboratory, and the muzzle of the energy cannon was aimed at Otto. The 4 mechanical tentacles were also aimed at the Iron Overlords, and the top of the tentacles also shape-shifted the muzzle of an energy cannon. If you want to get something, step over my body. Dr. Otto did not give in at all, and even opened fire first. Energy bombs were fired at the Iron Overlords one after another. The Iron Overlords were not afraid of bullets and cannonballs, but were afraid of all kinds of energy bombs. After all, Iron Overlord is made of ordinary military-grade alloys. The flexibility of the Iron Overlords cannot be compared to that of Dr. Octopus. A 10-on-1 battle begins. Dr. Otto relied on his familiarity with the terrain to constantly avoid Iron Overlord energy bomb attacks, and even took the opportunity to constantly counterattack. Iron Overlord combat effectiveness was severely restricted by the laboratory. But they are meant to attract fire. Mutant, who possesses the ability to become invisible in dimensional space, quickly opened the super alloy safe and obtained the Blue Star weapon with a shrinking polycrystalline structure. Target acquired. Withdraw. As the Blue Star weapon was stolen, the commander's order to retreat came to the ears of the Iron Overlords. They fired at Dr. Otto one after another, and at the same time, thick flames spurted out from under their feet. Boom! The floor was knocked open, and they flew into the sky and disappeared. Dr. Otto hurried back and saw the empty super alloy safe. Although Sauron asked him to deliberately steal it, he still felt very unhappy. Boom! The super alloy safe was blasted into liquid metal by him. Inside the Hydra base underground in New York, Pierce looked at the polycrystalline structure in his hand and couldn't believe it. Is this the blue star weapon? Hydra scientists on the side stepped forward. They studied all the videos monitoring Dr. Octopus and figured out how to turn it on. Soon, the polycrystalline structure trembled and instantly turned into a blue giant weapon. Everyone is attracted by the super compressed blue giant star. Oh God, look at the convective energy from thermonuclear reactions, this is definitely a fixed star. Blue superstar, really blue superstar. What kind of civilization can compress a blue giant star into such a file size and make it into a weapon? Where did you get that guy named Superman? Hydra scientists are going crazy. Pierce smiled and said, everyone, it doesn't matter what civilization such a powerful weapon comes from. What's important is that it now belongs to us Hydra. You should study as soon as possible how much energy can be released that can destroy our enemies without destroying our planet. Yes. A kind of Hydra scientists have invested in crazy research. Pierce, on the other hand, is intoxicated in beautiful fantasies. Fantasy, he becomes the leader of all Hydra. Become the leader of the world. Sauron, who was in the garden on the top floor of the headquarters, had a disdainful smile on his lips. Is my stuff so easy to get? Only when they saw the blue star weapon and regarded it as their own treasure, they wanted it back. They will do everything they can to protect you. Only by using America's national power to mobilize mutants and superpowers can he usher in a crazy harvest. Therefore, because of Soren's departure, Hill Agent, who had returned to S.H.I.E.L.D., saw Sauron in his home. Didn't you already leave Blue Star? The satellites have already photographed you being taken away in a special way. When Hill saw Solan, his face was full of shock. I left the solar system but not the human world. I can walk naturally and come back. In fact, I am just a duplication of that guy. I will disappear as soon as he comes back. Hill glanced at him and said, is it multiple man's ability? S.H.I.E.L.D. studied all the information on Sauron and discovered something surprising. Before he killed the Sunfire, there was no information that showed that Sauron could transform into the sun. Before Sauron disappeared, a mutant criminal, Multiple Man, was also attacked. But now, the Sauron in front of her is a sharer. Sauron neither confirmed nor denied. Hill, the blue star weapon has fallen into the hands of Hydra. Hill, through secret investigations over the years, has also found out that Pierce is Hydra. But at the same time, she was also surprised by the hairstyle. More than half of the elites in S.H.I.E.L.D. were Hydra. Therefore, she did not dare to expose all this easily. He could only quietly replace some key positions with his own people through Carter's connections. Because of this, she became the deputy director with real power within S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury saw Sauron leaving the solar system and put behind the threats he had made. Through his identity as director, he constantly sucked blood from S.H.I.E.L.D. No, since you are his duplication, you must have powerful abilities. Why did you let Hydra take the blue star weapon away? Hill got into brainstorming mode. Whether Dr. Otto has a blue giant weapon or not, he can perfect the artificial sun technology. The difference is just a matter of time. There is no need for you to take out the blue star weapon. But you still took it out, then your only purpose is to attract the attention of the military and even other forces. Hill immediately thought of Soren's way of obtaining ability. She woke up instantly. You are here to harvest super abilities. You must be here for this purpose. Because whether it is Hydra or the military, as long as you get the blue star weapon, you will never take it back. At that time, in order to protect the blue star weapons, they can only recruit a large number of mutants or super abilities. Because they know that human weapons cannot deal with you at all. The only thing that can deal with you is such a powerful super ability. And you can harvest all kinds of powerful supers. After all, whether it's mutants or super abilities, many of them are anonymous. And if you massacre them all over the world, it will arouse fear and opposition from all over the world, and they will completely hide themselves. The more Hill analyzed, the more he looked at Sauron with fear in his eyes. Only now did she realize that she had become a pawn from the beginning. Pa, Sauron applauds. Hill, you are indeed the woman I like. You are indeed smart. Hill subconsciously retreated. She wanted to escape. But knowing Soren's power, she knew she couldn't escape at all. Don't worry, I won't kill you. After being guessed by Hill, Sauron just thought she was smart but would not want to kill anyone. This is a conspiracy. Even if the whole world knew his purpose, would Hydra be willing to give up the blue star weapon? But Hill got it wrong. In Schild's test of Sauron, one item is extremely eye-catching. Sauron loves beauty. Hill is also a very beautiful woman. She subconsciously wrapped her arms around herself, full of vigilance. Sauron, even if you get my body, you can't get my heart. Sauron was stunned. Because of the power of his divine body, mortal women simply couldn't bear it. Sauron was like a super hydraulic machine, and mortals were like a piece of tender tofu. Even with just a slight push, the tender tofu would collapse. Become crumbled tofu dregs. This made Sauron duplication stop thinking about that aspect. But although he is connected with the subject's mind, he seems to be doing two things. But this body is only half of Sauron's strength when he left Blue Star. There is still no problem communicating with mortal women. The main body has been in seclusion refining the power of the gods accumulated by Yi Jie, and the duplication of Xandarna is also unable to communicate with mortal women. The Xinqing Supreme cannot attract strong women, so the county wants to make Sauron duplication happy. The emotions accumulated over the years were ignited by Hill's words. Hill paid the price with blood for this. Agent number 13, Sharon Carter, came to see Hill. Just as she was about to knock on the door, she heard voices inside. She shrugged and left. When did Sister Hill fall in love? I wonder if I know that person. However, someone who can conquer Sister Hill must be extraordinary. As the deputy director, Hill will not go to work for a day, so naturally no one will take care of him. On the third day, after Hill was able to go to work, he went directly to meet Nick Fury. Director, do you know that the Blue Star weapon has been stolen? Nick was not surprised when he heard this. He showed some photos to Hill. Although Dr. Otto's laboratory was very remote, the Iron Overlords left in a high-profile manner. 10 tall mechas were flying in the sky and were photographed by some night owls. I've arranged for Hawkeye and Natasha Romanoff to investigate. Last year, Fury sent Hawkeye to capture Black Widow, and then the two of them had a fight with the man in the Red House. Natasha Romanoff thought she had killed the leader of the Red Room, so she accepted Fury's recruitment and joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Director, the Blue Star weapon is now in the hands of Hydra. Hill's words stunned Nick. Deputy Director Hill, are you kidding me? Hydra has long since perished with the disappearance of Red Skull. Also, who told you this news? Hill has no respect for these 900 treacherous Nicks. He obviously promised Sauron to help him become the director, but as soon as he became the director, he suppressed himself everywhere while Sauron was not in the solar system. Definitely Sauron. Hill directly said the famous minister who made Fury afraid. Didn't he leave the solar system? I have investigated clearly the pattern left behind. It has appeared many times in the history of Blue Star, and it has a lot to do with Norse mythology. It is said to be the unique mark of Bifrost. If Norse mythology is true, then he must have lost Asgard. Why do you say you are still on Blue Star? Nick Fury is really scared. Afraid that his wife as an alien will be revealed. Afraid that he will be treated as an adulterer and secretly dealt with by the Security Council. Yes, his body has indeed left the solar system and gone to Asgard. Not only is he thousands of light years away from the solar system and unable to come back in a short time, he is also trapped by something. But he still has a duplication on Blue Star. And this duplication also has powerful power. Director Nick Fury, it's time to fulfill the promise you made to Sauron. Hill begins to force the palace. After being punished by Sauron, her body and mind were completely conquered. Huge amounts of changes took place in her inner thoughts. Shit, this can't be true. Nick Fury still can't believe it. Director, you should know that on the eve of Sauron's departure, a mutant with duplication ability was attacked, right? Hill said with a slight expression. Nick Fury's eyes froze in an instant. He can become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and is also known as the King of Agents. Not a fool. In an instant, he understood what Hill also wanted to understand in front of Sauron. No, he is a devil. Shet, how dare he make an enemy of the whole world? Hill, you betrayed S.H.I.E.L.D. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.